I instruct host to start recording of this meeting and open the meeting to the public. Welcome everyone to tonight's council meeting. I'm the Mayor, Councillor Ranka Rasik. I declare this meeting open at 7 p.m. Due to the declaration of state of emergency in Victoria and in compliance with the Local Government Act 2020, councillors will be attending this ordinary council meeting by electronic means. The council chamber is closed to members of the public for this meeting. However, this meeting is deemed open to the public via an online live stream available through a link published on the Brimbank City Council website. Members of the public will not be recorded in this process. Please stand for acknowledgement of the country. On behalf of Brimbank City Council, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Wurundjeri people, and pay our respect to elders past, present and emerging. I ask councillors to remain standing for the council commitment. As the council, we will act in the best interest of the Brimbank community and consider the immediate and long-term impact of our decisions. We'll make these decisions fairly and without bias. We'll uphold all of our obligations under the law of Victoria and council's local laws, and we will act in accordance with our code of conduct. Please be seated. There are no apologies for this evening. Councillors, are there any declarations of conflict of interest for tonight? There are 5 items to be designated as confidential. May I have a mover of a motion to designate the items as confidential? Councillor Papalia?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I move the motion.
Do I have a seconder?
Second, Madam.
Thank you, Councillor David. Councillor Papalia, would you like to speak to this motion or these items? Councillor David, would you like to speak to these items?
No, Madam Mayor.
Would anyone like to speak to these items? I put these items to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you, Councillor. So I declare this motion carried. We'll go to item 6, which is confirmation of minutes of previous meeting. May I have a mover of a motion to confirm the minutes of the previous council meeting? Councillor Nguyen?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I move the motion as per business papers.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Borg?
I second the motion, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nguyen, would you like to speak to this motion?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Borg, would you like to speak to this motion?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to this motion? I put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. We'll go to item 7, which is condolences. There is one item of condolences. Item 7.1, passing of John Ricketts Falke. May I have a mover of the motion of condolences?
Madam Mayor, Madam Mayor, I'd like to move the condolence motion as per the business papers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kerr. You're on mute.
Yeah, I move the motion as per the papers. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tarkos, would you like to speak to this motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to express our condolences. Ricketts, or John Falke Ricketts, as he was affectionately known, was someone who played a significant role in the Calder Sports Club behind the scenes over many decades. He made the role of property steward his own, ensuring that every Calder side was ready and able to perform the best possible requirements. No task was ever too big or too small for him to undertake, particularly on match day. Over his time, Ricketts was recognised with some fantastic accolades for his efforts, including Life Member for Calder Sports Club, EDFL Life Member, and Calder Football Club Life Members Volunteer Award is named in his honour. I'd like to thank his volunteering and his commitment to our club. And he was a gentleman who was fiercely loyal to everything Calder and his family. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Councillor Kerr, would you like to speak to this motion?
I'd just like to offer my sincere condolences to the family and that he will be truly missed by the, small, close-knit community in Calder. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to this motion tonight? I put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. I'm going to go to item 8, which is congratulations. There are no items of congratulations for tonight. So we're going to move to item 9, which is public question time. Mr. Sakari, I understand we have received questions from members of public. We have received a significant number of questions and may not have time in this meeting to read out and answer them all. Officers will provide written response to those questions we do not have time to read out and answer in the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The first 2 questions are from Sarah Haar, who asks, there has been a dramatic increase in littering, dumped rubbish, antisocial behaviour, property crimes and defacement of council property around the Sunshine North area, originating from Urana Avenue and Dunkeld Avenue, with specific regard to a property that is a known drug den. This property has had a clean-up order placed against it by council, yet the property remains in a state that is unsafe. The residents litter the nature strip and surrounding streets on a daily basis and are responsible for the unsafe disposal of dirty needles and associated paraphernalia in and around the vicinity of the property. What is council doing or intending to do to deter and stop this behaviour?
We are aware of residents' concerns. City compliance officers recently completed an extensive cleanup of a property in Dunkeld Avenue on 20th July. Our city compliance and litter enforcement officers will continue to monitor the property to assess any further issues and actions. Residents concerned about any criminal or antisocial activity should contact Victoria Police on either 000 in an emergency or 131 444 or Crime Stoppers. We will also raise the concern with Victoria Police.
Ms. Haar also asks, Gilmore Avenue, Sunshine North, is consistently used as a fly tip area for the dumping of rubbish by litter bugs. The strip has hundreds of cubic metres of dangerous rubbish, including gas cylinders, rusty metal, dirty IV needles, asbestos, petrol canisters, aerosols, refuse associated with renovations, sharps including broken glass, and environmental contaminants including toxic paints and chemicals. There is rubbish dumped in the culvert bordering the track system also. Myself and other residents have lodged scores of reports about this rubbish, but it will not stop unless council takes a preemptive, situational crime prevention approach. This includes lighting, signage, and CCTV surveillance to capture identifying information about offenders. What is council doing to implement contemporary strategies to stop this dumping rather than be reactive and rely on ratepayers to constantly report rubbish, only to have to spend exorbitant amounts having it cleaned up?
Currently, our litter enforcement officers are assessing the area to determine the best response to this issue at this location. As well as increased proactive patrols, we may use surveillance cameras. Unfortunately, we have to clean up the rubbish so it doesn't encourage others, but where possible, we identify and hold accountable people responsible for dumping in the area.
The first of 2 questions from Carnation T, Madam Mayor, is What is Brimbank Council doing to mitigate the impacts of climate change across the municipality?
Council declared a climate emergency in June 2019, and in June 2020, we released the Brimbank Climate Emergency Plan 2020-2025. The plan outlines our commitment to achieve zero net emission for council operations by 2030 and to help the municipality achieve zero net emission by 2040. Recent key achievements include Brimbank purchasing 100% renewable electricity for all our power needs from 1st July 2021, and Council receiving a $1.5 million ARENA grant to enable the aquatic area at the new St Albans Aquatic and Wellness Centre to be all electric and zero net emission. Council is expecting a full report in our achievements and progress at September Council meeting.
The second question from Carnation T, Madam Mayor, what is Brimbank doing to increase trees planting on nature strips and reserves?
Brimbank Council is very passionate about the environment and beautifying our municipality. Council adopted an urban forest strategy in 2016 with the aim to increase tree canopy cover across the municipality from 6.2% to 30% by 2046. In recent years, Council has planted around 280,000 tree and tube stock in parks and streets, and canopy cover is now just over 10%. Most parks are on track to have around 30 to 50 canopy cover in the coming years. Council is committed to planting more semi-mature trees in streets as part of the annual Street 3 infill planting program to ensure all streets have a consistent tree canopy cover. Council will be considering the final draft Brimbank tree policy and final draft significant tree policy as part of our tonight's council meeting, which, if adopted by Council, will provide further policy basis for increasing tree canopy cover. Council officers have also followed up with the state government in relation to the 500,000 tree program in Melbourne's West. The state government department implementing the program has requested expressions of interest from the Western Region Councils for phase 1 of the program for up to 250,000 per council to commence tree planting programs in 2021. Council officers submitted an expression of interest application seeking the full funding to plant 500 additional semi-mature trees as part of Council 2021 Street 3 infill planting program.
Daniel Daly asks, the Brimbank City Council has not posted for a month on their social media pages about its position to urge the state government to reaffirm its commitment to transform Sunshine Station as a super hub and to reconsider plans for a flyover through Albion. Can Brimbank City Council commit to making further posts and raising awareness about the issue in the next fortnight?
Council has made clear our preference for an upgrade solution for Albion Station and the Sunshine Super Hub for many months, and we will be undertake a further advocacy campaign to make the most of our opportunities in future.
John Girardi's first question, Madam Mayor. The roads at the intersection at Duke Street and Matthew Street, Sunshine, have been closed for approximately 10 months in order to build a roundabout. Why is it taking so long for these roads to be reopened?
I'm advised that the road closure is related to the construction of roundabout at the intersection. It is a planning permit requirement for the development of the adjacent land, which is the city of Maribyrnong. We have been advised by Maribyrnong City Council officers that the road closure is still in force due to a delay in the installation and commissioning of the street lights.
The next question from Mr. Girardi, Madam Mayor. It's been really terrific to see our council advocating for a proper Sunshine Super Hub as part of Airport Rail Link project, as the government promised. Basically, our council has been holding the government to account, which has been nice to see. It's clear that the Victorian government is backtracking and now only offering an El Cheapo solution. Of course, they are spinning it, saying there is nothing to see here, it will still be a super hub. It would not surprise me if council is under a lot of political pressure to back off its campaign and to stop advocating for the community. Will our mayor and councillors succumb to the pressure, or will they continue to advocate on our behalf?
It will be true to say that Minister and State Government is very aware of council and community advocacy around the Melbourne Airport Rail. Well, we need to take a long-term view. The project is scheduled to complete in 2030. We will keep advocating for local community uplift to leverage the state and federal government investment in Melbourne Airport Rail. We will not stop until our voices are heard and action is taken.
Kelly Banco's first question, Madam Mayor. When will the council begin to step up their campaign in relation to the community's concerns in relation to the problems surrounding the Melbourne Airport rail link? Not just having one meeting with Jacinta Allen over a month ago, specifically in relation to the watered down Sunshine and Albion precinct flyover.
I understand that much of our advocacy work operates directly between council and other levels of government, meaning it can be hard for the community to be aware of. Council has been extremely active in pushing for results. Council will also undertake a more visible community campaign in the very near future, weighing all the possibilities, opportunities and risks.
Ms. Banco's next question. Why has tangible support not been given to the Greater Sunshine Community Alliance to allow for a strong campaign to occur around the community's grave concerns with the current plans for the Melbourne Airport rail link?
Representatives from Brimbank City Council meet with representatives from Greater Sunshine Community Alliance on a regular basis. We encourage the good work of the AACC and the GSCA.
John Haddich asks, has Brimbank Council formally approached Heritage Victoria to establish its position on the different airport rail project touchpoints in Brimbank with a view to assuring the community that the following heritage assets will be properly protected when the airport rail project is undertaken? The Black Arch, the Sunshine Wright Street silos, the Sunshine Station signal box, the H.V. Mackay Gardens, the Albion substation, the John Darling flour mills, and the Maribyrnong River quarter-mile bridge.
Council hasn't approached Heritage Victoria about their position of the airport rail project, as this isn't council project and we do not yet know the full details of the project. It is anticipated that Rail Project Victoria would be required to prepare an assessment of any potential impact of the project on heritage assets in Brimbank. At that time, Council expects it will have the opportunity to view and make comment on the proposed work, as well as other stakeholders, including Heritage Victoria.
Mr. Neil Head, on behalf of Albion and Ardea Community Club Inc., a member of the Greater Sunshine Community Alliance, asks, we thank Council for its commitment work actively with local community groups in support of the Transforming Brimbank 2050 advocacy. Importantly, GSCA has recently developed a potential game changer for the project in the form of concept planning for a viable at-grade rail track option at Albion, which would be far preferable to the currently proposed flyover plan from Airport Rail. GSCA has requested Council assistance to scale draw the proposal. Can Council please commit to providing this drafting assistance on an urgent basis?
Certainly. Council supports and has previously called for at-grade solution at Albion Station and shares your aspiration that the government will change plans to pursue instead of the flyover currently being developed. I am advised by officers that options are currently being considered in response to your request.
The first question from Despina Habelas, Madam Mayor. If public health is a council service, why during COVID is our Brimbane community struggling to find local services and advocacy and mental health supports?
As you may be aware, we have three types of government, one being federal, another being state, and the final one local government. The funding and previous provision of mental health services in the responsibility of state and federal governments. Council's role of focused on primary prevention, early intervention and advocacy. For example, Council recently made a submission to the Victorian Government's consultation on the new Mental Health and Wellbeing Act. Supporting improved mental wellbeing is a health and wellbeing priority for Council, as articulated in the draft Together We Are Brimbank plan, which includes the Community Vision 2040, Council Plan 2021-2025, and Municipal Health and Wellbeing Plan. Additionally, Council has allocated funding in the 2021-2022 budget for a mental health project to provide analysis of the mental health service provision and needs for Brimbank residents, and to develop local strategy to improve community mental health and well-being. This work will inform Brimbank Council's future advocacy as well as contribute to the local service sector planning and integration. Our services are available and have been made accessible to the public online, on our website, on Facebook and other avenues. I will request that one of our council officers personally send you a list of services available should you have any difficulty locating them. I am proud to be part of council that prioritize mental health, and we will continue to do so. Councillors, as I said, we have lots of questions, so we'll need extension. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Takos. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Liu. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you, councillors. So we can go on.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The next question from Despina Havelas. If our Brimbank Health and Wellbeing Hub is a priority for residents, why hasn't our current mayor advocated and met with the local member for St Albans to get us more funding, as we have already borrowed 33 million?
I'm very pleased to announce that at the end of last month, Council received 1.5 million from the federal-funded Australia Renewable Energy Agency. We had applied for funding for an integrated renewable energy system, requiring the installation and all electrical heat pump system for heating and cooling. On top of the 2 million we received through Better Pools funding, we will continue to seek more funding. And our local members have been very valuable in helping Council in these ambitions.
Madam Mayor, Irene Stokes, President of the Brimbank Ratepayers and Residents Association, asks, can the Mayor please confirm where the Brimbank News is printed? What did the last edition cost to print and distribute, and where is it distributed, as it appears from resident feedback that not every household in Brimbank receives it? Additionally, at this time when we are facing both a climate emergency and economic downturn, is it an appropriate use of ratepayers' funds to use such an outdated communication vehicle, both from a cost and environmental perspective, given it is possible to disseminate this news far more effectively to Brimbank residents via digital platforms, which are cost-effective, efficient, have much broader reach, are less wasteful, and do not impact on the environment?
We recently polled almost 800 local residents, 70% of whom told us that direct mail was a preferred way to be kept informed and up to date by Council. Listening to this community feedback, we decided to relaunch a hard copy quarterly Council newspaper. We will continue to listen to our residents and make sure appropriate updates reach as many residents as possible, whether online or in the mail. The intent is for it to reach every household with the municipality. So we encourage residents who did not get a copy to get in touch with Council, and we will send one out. Printed in Port Melbourne, it cost approximately $36,000 for 75,000 copies to be distributed across the municipality.
The next question from Ms. Stokes, Madam Mayor. Why isn't Brimbank Council a signatory to the Small Business Friendly Councils initiative, which over 60 Victorian councils have already signed up to, including the neighbouring councils of Melton, Hume and Moonee Valley? Surely at this time where Brimbank small businesses have been severely affected by COVID-19 restrictions, Council should be doing its utmost to support small businesses in Brimbank, ensure its preferences local businesses to supply goods and services to Council, and offers them preferential payment terms as outlined in the Small Business Friendly Council's initiative.
We have been liaising with the Victorian Small Business Commission with the intention of signing the Small Business Friendly Charter. We are waiting clarification from the Commission on the matter of detail, which will hopefully pave the way for Council to sign. In the interim, Council continues to provide a range of support to local businesses, including the promotion of local procurement through Brimbank local site, a business-to-business platform, the launch of business grants program last week, ongoing delivery of our business development program, and contact with business from our COVID business support officers. We are committed to helping small businesses recover from this ongoing effect of COVID-19.
Madam Mayor, Jenny Issa, Vice President of the Brimbank Ratepayers and Residents Association, asks, can the Mayor please confirm what the unsuccessful bid to entice the Matildas to Sydenham Park cost of Brimbank ratepayers?
Unfortunately, I was not part of the previous council involved in Matilda's bid. However, the rate cost amount to approximately $4,000.
The second question for Ms. Issa, Madam Mayor. At the last council meeting, the Mayor provided an update on the meeting she held with federal MPs to advocate for Brimbank during her attendance at the Australian Local Government Association National General Assembly held in Canberra in June. Can the Mayor please confirm what the other 7 councillors who also attended this event did to advocate for Brimbank? What was the cost to send 8 councillors and staff to this event in Canberra? And what value did Brimbank residents receive from such a large group attending?
In addition to significant advocacy effort, the event was also considered a perfect opportunity to expedite councillors' professional development and knowledge in order to perform better in their roles. In relation to the cost of sending councillors to this event, councillor expenses for quarter 4 of 2020-2021 will be publicly reported to Council at the September Council meeting after they have been reported to Council Audit and Risk Committee.
Madam Mayor, there is a question from Greg Stokes, Secretary of the Brimbank Ratepayers and Residents Association, in relation to councillor attendance at community events.
This question will not be read out and is disallowed under Division 8, Section 57 of Brimbank Governance Rules 2020 on the grounds that it relates to a matter outside the duties, functions and powers of Council.
The second question from Mr. Stokes, Madam Mayor. Can the Mayor please advise if there is a business plan which supports a motion for a new train station at Calder Park? At a time when there are a number of key issues within Brimbank requiring increased advocacy and funding, such as the Sunshine Super Hub, Albion Station, Barrow Landfill, lack of funding for the Brimbank Aquatic and Wellness Centre, and poor road infrastructure, wouldn't Council's time and resources be more effectively used to ensure success in these existing projects, which impact significantly on a greater number of Brimbank residents?
Council has recently achieved a significant win with the state government announcing the removal of the level crossing on Calder Park Drive. This was one of the key asks in our Fix the Calder campaign and highlights that our advocacy is achieving desired outcomes. Part of Council's advocacy in this area included a request for a park and ride station in Calder Park, which was included as this desired project in Council's adopted Transport Priority Papers 2018. Council is not aware of the current state of the project with the state government and whether the state government has developed a business plan. In our most recent budget, we have invested in a significant amount of funding in local roads and footpaths. We have also progressed the construction of the Brimbank Aquatic and Wellness Centre and have advocated to the state government in regard to the Barrow Landfill. The notice of motion in relation to the construction of a train station at Calder Park Drive is yet another example of Brimbank Council calling for more funding in Brimbank Council. We will not stop lobbying for more investment in infrastructure and services.
Madam Mayor, the next question is from Jamie Ramsey, who asks, since Council raised a notice of motion regarding the ongoing Calder landfill fire, we have seen Barrow take the EPA to the Supreme Court regarding the clean-up notice, and in lockdown, residents unable to escape the mental and physical effects of the landfill fire. Can Councillor Russick, as councillor responsible for advocacy, advise what advocacy has been done on this issue since the NOM was raised, and what has been the outcomes achieved?
Since the notice of motion was raised at the June Council meeting, Council has written to the Minister for Energy, Environment and Climate Change, the CEO of the EPA and the member of St Albans, advocating on behalf of the Brimbank Council about this ongoing matter. Additionally, Brimbank officers attend a weekly agency coordinated meeting convened by the EPA with Fire Rescue Victoria and WorkSafe about landfill hotspots. The meeting discussed and investigated all avenues to resolve the issue as soon as possible. Brimbank has also participated in an inter-agency site inspection of the site. Council will continue to advocate on behalf of the community until this issue is resolved.
Mr. Ramsey's second question, Madam Mayor, is it was reported in the last paragraph of the advocacy report presented at tonight's meeting that the chances of the Albion flyover being removed or amended have diminished despite advocacy from the community and council. Can council advise who the person/company is hired to advocate on the Sunshine Super Hub and Airport Rail Link? What is the cost of ratepayers and what has been the outcome given that appears to be no change to what is being delivered now?
Council has engaged external agency Redbridge Group to assist Council in advocating for the best possible community outcomes in relation to the Melbourne Airport Rail and the designation of Sunshine as a priority precinct, including Albion Station and the Albion Precinct. Council has achieved a number of positive outcomes as a result of this advocacy work and continues to push for additional community outcomes. In relation to your prior about costs, I will ask officers to consider and provide a response to you in writing.
Madam Mayor, Mr. John Heddish's second question is, at a recent meeting, the Department of Transport advised that a draft Sunshine Transport Precinct Master Plan is anticipated to be ready for community consultation before Christmas, but that an Albion Transport Precinct Master Plan process has not yet commenced due to undefined complexities and has no timelines to commence. It is not clear how these Sunshine and Albion Transport Precinct master plans fit with the Sunshine Metropolitan Activity Centre, National Employment and Innovation Cluster, and Priority Precinct classifications and their objectives. Will the Sunshine and Albion Transport Precinct master plans become part of the Brimbank planning scheme or some other administrative arrangement?
Brimbank City Council has clearly outlined our future vision for both the Sunshine Super Hub and Albion Quarter Precinct through the Sunshine Priority Precinct Vision 2050, which we have developed and shared with key stakeholders and the community. Council was pleased to hear that state government recent commencement of the master planning for Sunshine Super Hub, and we have been calling our similar master planning process for Albion Quarter. It is premature for us to advise you in the Sunshine and Albion Transport Precinct Master Plan will become part of the Brimbank planning scheme or some other arrangement. This has not been determined. You may wish to direct your question to the state government as they are leading this work.
Sang asks, at Taylor's Lakes transmission line linear reserve opposite side of Lyle Place, there is temporary fencing installed with survey marks. I see another area opposite to Albany Court with another temporary fencing surrounding survey points. Can you please advise what work is planned?
Council is investigating the provision of the shared user trail through the assessment from Robinson Road to Melton Highway. As part of this investigation, Council is required to investigate to extend our native flora and fauna in the assessment. Council has engaged ecological consultations to conduct flora and fauna surveys in 5 different locations along the power line assessment, with these areas secured with temporary fencing. The survey started in July and will be completed by March 2022.
Ben Bly's first question, Madam Mayor, is I note Council's advocacy work against the Albion flyover section of the airport rail link in the context of general support for this worthwhile project. The state government's proposed solution does not involve any rebuild or uplift of the existing Albion station or the existing Ballarat Road overpass, nor does the solution improve amenity or walkability in the Albion Quarter area. Will Council push the state government to redesign this section of the airport link in compliance with the Transport Integration Act and to the benefit of our local community?
Thank you for acknowledging Council's advocacy against the Albion flyover to date. Brimbank has recently been invited to sit on the Sunshine Transport Precinct Community Reference Group. We will use this opportunity, as well as all available tools and existing relationship with major landowners, to urge the state government to significantly uplift the Albion Quarter area to release its full potential.
Mr. Bly's next question, Madam Mayor, is Council's advocacy to fix the Calder freeway is very visible in the community. However, this is advocacy for more car-based transport. Will Council increase its advocacy efforts against the current plans for Melbourne Airport rail links so that the campaign receives resourcing at least equal to that provided to the Calder freeway campaign, given that benefits from a properly implemented rail link would sustainably improve amenity for all residents and not just drivers?
Council believes that diversified and integrated transport network is the best way to help people get around safely and effectively. The Calder Highway is a national significant road, critical for both community and commuters and frequent traffic, particularly in the north of the municipality, as its rail transport infrastructure development in the Sunshine and Albion precincts. Advocacy efforts for transforming Brimbank 2050 to leverage the Melbourne Airport link have been very significant and continue to be. While the strategies have been very different to date, Council has made significant investment in both campaigns.
Madam Mayor, there is one question left, but unfortunately you have reached the end of your 15-minute extension, and under the governance rules there are no more extensions available to Council.
Thank you, Julian. We're going to go then to item 10, which is petitions. There are no petitions to be received. Going to item 11, minutes, reports of delegate committees. There are no minutes or reports of delegated committees. I'm going to go to officers' report. There are 17 officer reports for consideration by Council tonight. I'm going to go to 12.1. COVID response and recovery strategy progress report, April, May, June 2021. Ms. Linley Dumble. Thank you, Linley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report is presented to Council to note the progress made towards implementation of the Brimbank COVID-19 response and recovery strategy for the reporting period of the 1st of April to the 30th of June 2021. The most recent COVID community impact analysis report, which was compiled in July 2021, is also provided for noting by Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for the Director? I'll put this report to vote. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Takos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the report as per business papers. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Councillor Takos, would you like to speak to this report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'd like to speak. This is now the 6th lockdown that we are entering in Victoria. And this one is a far more complex Delta variant. As you know, our community has been hit hard, initially with many hotspots, and for council again, we've had to pivot back into our COVID safe restrictions. This report, as the portfolio champion of this report, I am pleased to introduce this quarter that details the strategy that is being currently implemented. The report highlights the work that council continues to do from April to June 21 to support our community. Some of the key outcomes in this quarter were delivering modified services through COVID outbreaks, including online group fitness, library click and collect, and library to your door services, which has been highly popular and of which there have been thousands of transactions. Securing an extension of the Brimbank local culturally and linguistically diverse partnership project up until the 30th of October. This project is so vital to Brimbank. Its primary focus is food relief, vaccination rollout, and youth mental health. And I don't need to tell this council, in the past few days, youth mental health has been in the headlines with 172% increase in suicide rate. And this is a huge concern to our community with our youth, and I'm glad that our council continues to make this a priority. We've delivered a range of community programs, including the Be Bold Festival, the Learn West Learning or Earning Festival, which provided information on how to upskill, change careers and find employment, and the Brimbank Writers Festival, which also included the launch of Brimbank Stories, Riding the COVID Wave. If you ever get a chance to get a copy of that, it's a compilation of everybody's interpretation of how they've experienced this pandemic through painting, poetry, and lots of other, ways. So engaging with 2,100 individuals via online environmental events, delivering 45 activation events across Brimbank as identified in the Brimbank Activate Framework and Toolkit. We've also employed 2 employment support advocates, as part of the COVID response and recovery. And unfortunately, we're not in a position to use them face-to-face, but that they're being inducted and they will be used to support people looking for work and to get back into the workforce. We've also supported outdoor dining activities, centre activation and local businesses, artists, entertainers and musicians via 21 events. Finally, I would like to highlight that the council has completed a community impact analysis, which is included as part of the report. This is the 5th in a series of reports examining the impact of COVID on this community through each stage of the pandemic. Each stage, it gets harder, but our council continues to pivot. And I'd like to thank our stakeholders, partners, as well as my fellow councillors, council staff and our community for their ongoing efforts to see through these unprecedented and evolving challenges. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kerr, would you like to speak to this report?
Yeah, I would like to thank the officers for such an impressive and detailed report. There is no doubt that the COVID pandemic and fatigue incurred is getting worse. This is why I want to highlight some of the positive outcomes from the report. Early years now have experience using different approaches, face-to-face, virtual, telephone, home visits. Council has provided a platform for young people to express themselves through the Bold Source and Youth Council. Some seniors have adapted to technology. A group of 24 were introduced to using iPads. Libraries have acknowledged the financial stress in the community and have stopped issuing fines, and council have waived fines and agreed not to incur any further overdue fines in the future. All of these outcomes, and the ones that I didn't have time to mention tonight, are important pieces of the puzzle. Every little incentive adds up and can assist us to recover from the effects of COVID and lockdown. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Would anyone else like to speak to this report? Councillor Borg?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to make some comments on the Brimbank community impact analysis, which was conducted recently and and finished in July 2021. This report includes 4 surveys with community service organizations since the beginning of the pandemic. The purpose of this engagement is to understand the impact on particular client groups and identify ways in which council might assist clients or support the work of service providers operating in Brimbank. This report is very comprehensive and demonstrates Council's agility and responsiveness to the various sectors of the community during these challenging times. Indeed, the recent local government community satisfaction survey indicates that the community is highly satisfied with Council's COVID-19 response with an index score of 78. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the staff for the hard work that they are doing. As the champion of people portfolio, I have met some of them and saw them in action during my recent visit to the neighborhood houses run by council.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to this report, councillors? Right, well, then we put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. Well done, councillors. This was a great report, and I think community should be proud of it. We're going to go to 12.2, Planning Activity Update and Delegate Decisions, July 2021, with Mr. Kelvin Walsh. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to provide Council with an understanding of the status of planning permit applications and trends in planning approvals in Brimbank and decisions made under delegated authority during July 2021 regarding planning permit applications and other matters. Officers recommend that Council notes the Planning Activity Update and Delegate Decisions report and the delegated planning permit decisions at attachment 1 to this report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for Mr. Kelvin Walsh? Thank you. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Nguyen.
Madam Mayor, I second the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak to this report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, look, it is noted in the figures here that there has been a decline in the number of applications received from the previous month, from 87 to 66, and that represents also a decline at a similar time from last year at 89 to 66. However, the value of the works has increased to 188.7 million. So that, of course, translates into construction and building jobs. So that's good to see. So there's a bit of a mixed bag in terms of results. Of particular interest, I note that an appeal against a delegated decision to refuse to grant a permit for the construction of 301 dwellings in a retail premises was unsuccessful, with VCAT ordering that no permit issued. That involved the property at 99 Derby Road, Sunshine. And I think that will please certainly the residents in that area. However, an appeal against a delegated decision to refuse to grant a permit for the use of land for a place of worship and reduction in the associated car parking requirement was also successful with VCAT, with a permit being issued at 123 Olga Road, Derrimut. So there's mixed results there, but I think the one that was probably of particular interest to our residents, Council achieved a success with. So on that basis, I would recommend this report to councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Councillor Nguyen, would you like to speak to this report?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to this report? Okay, I put this motion to vote. All in favour then, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. We are up to 12.3 report, planning application P172-2020 for 21 Verona Drive, Kilo Lodge with Mr. Calvin Walsh. I would like to vacate my chair. I know that under section 2711 of the Brimbank governance rules, I must now vacate it. So I invite Deputy Mayor to assume the chair for duration of the 12.3 report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I invite Director Calvin Walsh to speak to the report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The purpose of this report is to represent to Council the assessment of planning application P172/2020 for the construction of 2 double-storey dwellings at 21 Verona Drive, Keilor Lodge, against the provisions of the Brimbank planning scheme, following deferral of this matter at Council's July meeting. Officers recommend that Council issues the notice of decision to grant a planning permit for the construction of the 2 double-storey dwellings at 21 Verona Drive, Keilor, subject to a range of conditions that are outlined at attachment 6 to this report. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Director Calvin Walsh. Councillors, are there any questions for the Director? Okay, there are no questions. Is there a mover of a motion? Yes, Councillor Rosick. Sorry, you're on mute, Madam Mayor.
Getting there. I move alternate motion.
Yes, and what's your motion?
Can I have screen share? Thank you. So it is refusal as per shared screen. I would like to leave it just a little bit longer so everyone can read it. Thank you. I hope everyone read it by this time.
Has everybody understood what the motion is? Please do feel free to raise questions, raise your hand for any questions. Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, for giving your motion. Is there a seconder of the motion? Councillor Kerr?
Yep, I move the motion as per the Mayor's business papers.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, thank you. All this alternate motion is intended to refuse the application for the construction of 2 double-storey dwellings at 21 Verona Drive. As outlined in July council meeting, many residents have raised serious concerns through the application process and with councillors directly, myself included. I have listened to both sides of the argument and simply cannot support this application, as I believe it is not acceptable in this specific situation. Local residents have a certain expectation from council, and in this situation, it is to preserve a virtually untouched neighbourhood where big blocks of land and wide street fronts are a key feature of the area. By granting a permit, there would be potential for increased pressure on local amenities, on street parking and our local roads. I have taken local concerns seriously, and for that reason, I cannot support this development going ahead. I did speak to it last time, and I think I'm quite clear about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rosick. Can I get the seconder, Councillor Kerr, to speak?
Sure. I certainly support this amended motion. I've taken on board the community concerns and objections. I respect the integrity of Keilor Lodge, the pristinely kept family homes, and I think it's important to preserve this lovely pocket. I urge the other councillors to take this on board and objections of the local residents. You know, the community's reached out and they've spoken. We'd have over 50 objectors to this, and you know, I'm really listening to the community and, you know, feel that growing up in this area, it's important that we preserve its integrity, and I urge everybody to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak? Yes, Councillor Mountain? You may speak. Councillor Brandon?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm speaking against the motion, just to be clear. It says at the first point of the amended motion that it will have a detrimental effect on the neighbourhood as it is overwhelmingly that of one of single dwelling lots. In 2016, it was found that 80% of dwellings in Brimbank are single dwelling lots. It's 80% are just one house on a light block across Brimbank. And in June last year, Brimbane produced a report that identified that limited housing affordability is a key factor in homelessness in Brimbank. I understand that people love the character of their neighbourhood and why they want to keep it that way. And I've seen objections to very similar developments in Deer Park, Albion and St Albans as well. So it's very different neighbourhood characters that want to preserve that. If we are serious about delivering good policy for housing affordability in Brimbank, we need higher density housing. And that means that people can live here. And unfortunately, that means we're going to have to see more of these units that are multi-storey in areas that previously didn't have them. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Branton. Are there other councillors who would like to speak for or against this motion? Okay, Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Yes, look, I would, as Councillor Branton has indicated, declare that I would be speaking against this motion. Look, there's, from my perspective, there are some design issues which I think have some merit with this proposal. A normal house would have a frontage, in this case, probably to Verona Drive, and there would be a long side fence down the side on the other, as it is other street, as it is a corner property. This design means that we have a frontage to both streets, which is more attractive and provides overlooking to those streets and provides some security to both of those streets because of that. The houses themselves are separated, which means they actually look like individual dwellings rather than a big long building. And of course, it is limited to two-storey, and there are two-storey houses in the area. So that part's not out of character. Probably of interest is that each of those dwellings has a double garage with double car spaces in front of them. And that is something most of the houses in the area probably wouldn't provide that degree of car parking. So I can't see that there is a parking problem as a result of this development. And certainly its corner location provides a rather unique circumstance to make this, in particular, a good development. It complies with the planning scheme requirements for multi-dwelling development, and there is in the report a very detailed and comprehensive list of the criteria to which...
1 minute left.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. So look, on the merits of it, and I am also, we're all aware that there's a lot of objections. However, having looked at the design of it, I think this is a reasonably attractive development and it reasonably meets all the code requirements. So on that basis, I would be supporting its approval and not supporting its refusal. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to the motion? If not,
I want to write the reply.
Oh, yes, yes. Councillor Isaac, you do have the right of reply. Sarah, can you speak it again?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say that some residents have also told me that their families purchased a block in this specific area decades ago with specific intention of being away from multi-dwelling developments. So 20 years ago, you were thinking you're going to have a big block of land with that surrounding. We're talking about planting trees. When we have big blocks in certain area like this one, where we can plant the trees, we're thinking about multiple dwellings. Like, where is thinking there? Like, I don't understand. And if you bought a block of land somewhere, thinking for the family that you're going to have that surrounding, that character, wouldn't you be pissed off? I would be if I was living there. I can be honest with you. I'm not against development. I'm not against multiple dwellings. But when you're going somewhere and you're buying for your family home, where you want to live with big backyard, with lots of trees that we're constantly talking about, I would be really pissed off, I can tell you that much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brasic. As you've spoken, there's a reply. I would now like to put the motion to vote. Does anybody need to see the motion again before we go through? If not, I'll just put it to vote. Okay. All those for the motion, please put your hand up. Okay.
Are you voting or no? Sorry.
That has not passed. That motion has not passed. That is not enough votes.
Have you voted or you were against it? I wasn't clear about that. Sorry.
I've not voted. So that motion is not passed. Okay. Since that motion has not passed, is there an alternate motion?
Should we go back to the original motions of the recommendation? Since that one did not pass, we need to go back to the original of the recommendations.
Yes, can we please get someone to put on the screen? The councillor, like, did you want to move that, Councillor Wu?
Yes, I'll move that. Madam Mayor, I'll move the of the recommendations.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Wu. Is there a seconder of the motion? Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor David. Councillor Wu, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to reiterate what Councillor Brennan mentioned earlier regarding developments for housings with multiple blocks in the area, and also with these motions with of the recommendation with the conditions attached to this motion will enable us to have more say as to how developments along the area, and which will assist the residents as well. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wu. Councillor David, would you like to speak as a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Look, I think Councillor Lancashire and Brampton did put it right. It's an extremely good design. It meets all the rest of policy and guidelines. So I think it's an extremely good presentation for the area. It's not about sort of a design. As Councillor Lancashire mentioned earlier, they got double garages and they got other spaces for car parking available. I don't think it will make any difference to the whole community as they, I think maybe someone or a few people just went around and got all the people to put their hands up for objection. That's what it is. And we have to, in a way, make sure that not say to is not my backyard. No, this is our yard, our backyard. So Councillor Brandon mentioned that before. Everywhere you go today, we haven't got any land left in Brimbane, no subdivisions at all. So we got in the next 10 years, we're going to see the report next. It'd be something about another 13-something thousand people in Brimbank. We have to find somewhere to put these people. And indeed, we haven't got anywhere. The agents, they've got demand of rental. They haven't got anything for those people who want to rent. So we have to make sure that we gear up for the future. And that's what I want to say, Madam Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor David. Is there a person who would like to speak to the motion? Oh, that's Councillor Kerr. Councillor Kerr, you're on mute.
I'd like to speak against the motion. Is that possible?
Yes, you can.
Yep. Look, I'm really disappointed in the fact that this motion did not go through in the last meeting, and now it's been proposed again for a second time. You know, the people that bought these blocks when these blocks were first subdivided.
Sorry, Councillor Kerr. Councillor Rossi, did you say you raised your hand? Is there a point of order or?
No, I would like to speak after Councillor Kerr against it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Councillor Kerr, you can continue.
So while that land was subdivided and it's directly under power lines, people purposely bought these blocks knowing that within the future that they were not going to be subdivided. It really interferes with the integrity and character of the area. And I'm just really sad for that community because there is a lot of congestion in that area. The area has not been designed for subdivision. And I just really would like to urge fellow councillors to understand that in the previous council meeting, they all voted against it. So I'm not sure why there's been a sudden change. So I'd really like them to really reconsider, considering that these families have kept these blocks in pristine condition, you know, and the pocket itself is a testament to Brimbank. And we're going to start losing a lot of character within the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Councillor Rasic, would you like to speak?
Yep, I would like to speak against that. And I'm going to say again, those residents bought those blocks of land 20 years ago thinking they're going to have a big block of land for their families. I'm not against multiple dwellings. I am against something that, you know, you trying to preserve something and then yet you're trying to develop something. In this area, it was planned to have a big blocks. That's why those people got here. That's why they came here. Otherwise, probably they'll end up somewhere else. And it is disappointing to see councillors changing like that. Like, I don't know, I would love to know as well. I would like to hear councillors why they changed their mind and why they think the way they think about this specific area. As I said, I don't live there, but I went for a drive to look at it, and does look beautiful. And I do have concern for those people, because if you went somewhere and you bought that block of land thinking you're going to be there with the big land and lots of trees, and you ended up with the lots of dwellings, it's not fair. It's not right. I mean, not in life everything is fair, but it is really disappointing, to be honest. Very disappointing.
Thank you, Councillor Isaac. Councillor Paulo, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I'd also like to speak against this motion. We were here last month, obviously, discussing this matter, and whilst I don't disagree that the design of this development, you know, I think the design of the development is great, it still, to me, defeats the purpose of the caveat that was put on the land. And I think it will, like Councillor Kerr and Councillor Rasic said, you know, disrupt that neighbourhood character. And I think it's something that we do need to preserve and something that we do need to think about. We are representing the community. There was over 50 people that were really concerned. We heard from those residents ourselves. And, you know, I don't want to do that to those people in that community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Palia. Councillor Lancashire, I can see your hands up. Would you like to speak on the motion?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I have a question to the Director as to, given that we've rejected the refusal proposal, should we not accept the officer's recommendation for approval, where does Council stand with this proposal? And what are the ramifications of that?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, I might call on Julian Sakurai to provide some support for me in this circumstance. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Calvin. Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Council, in relation to a planning permit, must issue a notice of decision and can grant a permit, can refuse a permit, or can grant a permit subject to conditions. The original motion lodged by the Mayor has failed, and therefore Council has not decided to refuse a permit. It hasn't made a decision in relation to the motion to refuse. Councillor Lancashire, if your question is if this motion fails, then Council will not have made a decision to grant a permit. It will only make a decision to grant a permit if Council carries this motion. So if this fails, it will not have made a decision in relation to the permit application. If Council fails to make a decision about the application, and I may have to defer to Calvin on the specific planning regulations, but there is a specific statutory timeframe within which Council has the ability to make a decision, and then after that, the failure to make a decision can be the subject of an application to the Victorian Civil and Administrative Tribunal.
That's through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, if I could just add to that. Council must consider an application under the Planning and Environment Act, and part of that obligation as a responsible authority is actually to determine matters that come before you. It would be most unusual for our council not to determine, to arrive at a decision, in particular where you have already this evening demonstrated you've demonstrated that the alternate motion that has been put before you has not gained the support of the council. And if I'm being tentative, it is because I'm being cautious not to preempt in any way a decision that you may or may not make. However, having said that, it would be most unusual for council not to resolve this matter this evening, and you would leave it open for the matter to go before VCAT, subject to the applicant lodging proceedings there, seeking a decision due to failure to determine. But again, if failure to determine proceedings were to proceed to VCAT, the expectation of VCAT would be that you as responsible authority would have formed a view on the matter.
Thank you, Director Walsh.
Point of order, Madam Mayor, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Yes, Stefan David.
I believe also, just on what the director said, I believe that the builder or the developer can take his application to the Minister for Planning before VCAT, I think.
Walsh, would you like to speak to that?
VCAT would be, my understanding is that VCAT would be the next step in terms of the process for resolving the matter. However, as I have said, VCAT's expectation in the matter going before it would expect that the responsible authority would have formed a view on the matter. And if you don't resolve the matter tonight, you're not fulfilling your obligations under the Planning and Environment Act as planning authority.
Thank you, Jeff Walsh. Councillor Wu, would you like to?
The right to reply once it's finished. Right to reply when you.
Yeah, any other councillors with questions or? Okay. Well, does any other councillor like to speak on the motion? Okay, if not, then councillor, you have a right of reply.
Thank you. Just so with all the councillors, we need to finalise this matter tonight. As the directors mentioned, it will go to VCAT and we don't finalise it, and it will not assist the resident in any way. We need to finalise this. There are conditions we're going to put upon the developers. If we finalise, if we don't, all those conditions will probably go away at VCAT, and that will not help the residents or those opposing it. So please, it's not just finalise the report and finalise the application, but also we will assist the resident with this condition, this application as well. So bear that in mind when you're considering voting. We need to finalise this matter today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Well, I put this motion to vote. All those in favour, please put up your hand. Okay, there's a majority, so that motion passes. Well, thank you, everyone. I will now vacate the chair for the Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
We're going to go to 12.4, Housing Strategy Review and Update, including Drive Neighbourhood Character Study with Mr. Kelvin Walsh. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to seek Council's endorsement of the strategic work undertaken to inform future work to prepare the Brimbank Neighbourhood Character Study and update the Brimbank Housing Strategy and Brimbank Residential Development Framework. Officers recommend that Council endorses the progress update regarding the work undertaken and notes that Council will progress the next stage of the project to prepare and finalise the new housing strategy, neighbourhood character strategy and residential development framework, and that will present future reports to Council to keep you updated on the progress. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Walsh? Do I have a move of this motion? Thank you, Councillor Borg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll move the motion as per business papers.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I second the officer's report recommendation. Thank you.
Councillor Borg, would you like to speak to this motion?
I do, Madam Mayor. This report presents a range of work that Council has undertaken in the past 12 months to progress the development of its housing strategy. Council's work must accord with planning practice notes, which have been recently released by the state government, which provide guidance on how councils should use planning tools to plan for housing change and neighbourhood character. The key pieces of work Council has prepared include a peer review of the draft Brimbank Neighbourhood Character Study 2019, a review of the Brimbank housing strategy against the requirements of practice notes, as well as a review of VCAT decisions on housing applications within Brimbank. and preparation of a housing strategy background report, including population and demographic projections and housing needs and capacity. Both reviews provided very useful information, including the need for further work to define preferred character and the number of inconsistencies between the existing strategic directions and the new direction in the practice notes. The housing needs and capacity work captures population projections for the next 20 years and highlights the need for greater diversity to accommodate a range of housing needs like the family market and an aging community. While a significant amount of work has been achieved in the past 12 months, there remains a significant amount of work to do going forward. The work attached in this report positions Council to progress to the next stage, which involves the preparation of the neighbourhood character study, housing strategy, and the new residential development framework. I commend this report to Council.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak to this motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I would certainly like to support and echo the words of Councillor Borg in this matter. As can be seen in the agenda, this is a substantial body of work. And in fact, if I can draw back to our discussion on the previous report, it does show the degree of passion, interest, and concern that exists over our residential areas. When councils start to involve themselves in change in residential areas, of course, there is a lot of community interest, and we certainly want to see that we are doing this correctly, well, and having regard to the community interest. So that there is proposals here to extensively engage with the community on this process and continued further work on this report. The neighbourhood character is something that we were leading, and in fact the department came back with some notes which changed the process in which we had to proceed with this. This has meant that it's been drawn out longer than we probably would have liked. However, we certainly have given this a great deal of work. We'll continue to give it more work. And I note also that all the various parts, precincts within Brimbank have been given special attention in terms of not just the neighbourhood character, but the housing requirements. And again, I reiterate what Councillor Borg was saying, that we do have a wide variety of housing needs in Brimbank. And this, of course, includes everything from multi-storey developments in our business centres, which we encourage, to medium density and housing, and ensuring that the character of those areas, thank you, Madam Mayor, and that the character of those areas remains consistent with the ambitions and hopes of our communities. So this is an extremely important and complex piece of work. I commend the officers for such a dedicated and extensive report, and support the comments of Councillor Borg on this, and recommend and support the officers' recommendation. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion, councillors? I'll put this motion then to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. I'm going to go to 12.5, Draft Brimbank Industrial Design Guidelines with Mr. Calvin Walsh. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider adopting the final draft Brimbank Industrial Design Guidelines as shown at attachment 1 to this report, following a period of community engagement. Officers recommend that Council notes the summary of submissions for that were made, which is shown at attachment 2, and adopts the final draft Industrial Design Guidelines shown at attachment 1. And note the council officers will commence preparation of further work to inform a potential planning scheme amendment, and also the council writes to submit us thanking them for their submissions. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for Mr. Walsh? Yes, Councillor David.
No, Madam Mayor, I want to move the report as written in the business paper, please. I'm not asking any questions.
Thank you, Councillor David. So we have a mover. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to second the officer's recommendation report.
Thank you. Councillor David, would you like to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, the final draft Brimbank industrial design guidelines provide a user-friendly framework to guide and evaluate subdivision and development applications. Benefits for the guidelines include consolidation of council's design expectations. This makes the application process transparent and simpler. Supporting renewal of older industrial areas by providing guidance in line with the modern design practice and expectation. Improving the presentation, amenity, operation and environmental performance of industrial precincts. Improving the look and feel of industrial land in Brimbank will have a positive impact of the local community and those visiting or passing through our municipality. I'm pleased to see that guidelines take a whole approach to environmental issues through incorporating environmental values into every aspect of design, from large-scale subdivisions to much smaller plans. At the council meeting on the 16th of February this year, council endorsed the draft Brimbank industrial design guidelines. Council then conducted community consultation about the guidelines for a 4-week period over April and May this year. Council informed landowners, occupiers, and other stakeholders about the consultation through a range of mediums. Through this process, Council received 7 written submissions. These reports align with policy duties and responsibilities of Council as responsible authority under the Planning and Environmental Act 1987. Madam Mayor, I commend this report to Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor David. Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak to this report?
Yes, certainly. Certainly. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I would certainly like to support the words of Councillor David in this report. This massive, substantial document on policy and design in our industrial area is an excellent piece of work that certainly can be recommended to Council. And I'd like to spend just a minute talking about my first planning job with the City of Keilor. And part of that job was to go out and clean up the Slater Parade industrial area. Car parks where provided were often gravel, landscaping was usually non-existent, and the development was tin sheds. And it was horrible, smelly, grotty, and fairly much an embarrassment, but it was what occurred back then. Now we look forward to nearly 40 years later, and we see the standard of development that is encouraged by this policy. And if you go up to industrial estates like the Tullamarine Park Industrial Estate, the buildings there are so good that they look like an office park. You have activities there because it's clean, landscaped. You even have businesses coming in like breweries and things like that where they operate. And it's a place where you're happy to go to enjoy yourself. And even children's playgrounds locate in those sort of areas. So it's something to be so proud of, and to see that sort of standard of development, and this policy will reinforce that. So congratulations to the officers in their hard work in this area, and I look forward to the tremendous standard of development we are seeing in Brimbank because of it. It is a standard that we're proud of for the whole of Melbourne. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? Councillor Takos?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to reiterate what was said previously, and I think Councillor Lancashire mentioned the Keilor Park and the Tullamarine precinct, business precinct, as being an example that is leading the way in terms of industrial design. The greening, the murals, the artwork on the empty concrete walls that activate areas, and also the key word with this industrial design principle is integration, that you can have multiple businesses in an industrial precinct without it looking like a concrete jungle. And the descriptions of what it looked like previous, we are moving and forging ahead and transforming Brimbank into something that is of high quality, and integration, as I said, is the key way that we are doing it.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? If not, I'll put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. I'm going to go to 12.6, Governance Report, Mr. Den Hogan. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The monthly governance report is a standing item within the ordinary council meeting agenda. It is predominantly a summary of recent governance and operational activity in accordance with best practice and good governance principles. Written in compliance with provisions applying respectively in the Local Government Act of 1989 and of 2020, the report performs a variety of necessary functions. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for Mr. Hogan? Do I have a mover of this motion? Councillor Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move the motion as office papers.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Liu.
I second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Nguyen, would you like to speak to this motion?
Yes, please. Thank you, Madam Mayor. As co-portfolio councillor with Councillor Lancashire for Brimbank Innovation, which includes governance and probity, I'd like to highlight the importance of this month's governance report, which includes regular items such as delegate and representative reports, records of informal meetings, and MP meetings. Additionally, this report also includes information on an expression of interest process for the Australian Local Government Women's Association Victorian Branch 2023 conference. The Victorian branch is seeking expressions of interest from metropolitan councils to host the conference. And having attended this year's conference for ALGA, it was great. It was, a wonderful opportunity for female councillors to get together to talk about advocating for the community. And I think as a councillor with the majority of women, it would be good for us to express our interest. And yes, I'd like to commend the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Councillor Liu, would you like to speak to this report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, as Chair of the Brooklyn Industrial Precinct Strategy Committees, I would like to highlight the greening of the Pipeline Brooklyn project, was presented by the representative of the Greater Western Water and Melbourne Water at our last committee meeting. This exciting initiative is cooperation between Melbourne Water, Wynnum City Council, Greater Western Water, Department of Transport, Green the West, Brimbank City Council, and Hobson Bay City Council. The greening of the pipeline initiative aims to transform the heritage listed main outfall sewer pipelines reserve along the Federation Trail bike path into the parkland to service a growing population in Melbourne's west. Melbourne Water sought communities' feedback throughout July and August to help to shape the master plan for the 2.7 kilometres section of the reserve in Brooklyn between Millers Road and Little Boundary Road. The vision is created a vibrant space that will connect Brooklands communities, enhance active transport options in the area, manage water sensitivities, and provide a unique space to meet, play, and relax. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Liu. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? I put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. I'll go to 12.7, Advocacy Campaign Update. Thank you, councillors. Well, this advocacy report is not intended to be recurring monthly report, only appearing in there is a major announcement or decision for council. I'm happy to once again be introducing this report as it signals another month of enormous win for our community through our advocacy. Councillors and those watching at home will know that the Fix the Calder campaign is very important to the entire city, but particularly to our community to the north of the municipality. So I am exceptionally pleased that this month the report features the decision of the state government to remove the Calder Park Drive rail crossing. One of the major asks within the Fix the Calder campaign, it is currently a major bottleneck, with nearly 11,000 vehicles passing through this crossing each day. During the morning peak, boom gates can be down for up to 21% of time, backing up traffic along the exit ramp onto the Calder Freeway. One of only 10 additional removals announced across the state, this major investment, critical to Council's long-term goal of bringing the Calder up to freeway standards, is another huge win for Brimbank. In addition, just this week, Major Road Project Victoria announced that it will begin planning works to deliver our next advocacy ask within the Fix the Calder campaign: the construction of Diamond Interchange at the Calder Park Drive. A joint project between the federal and state government, these works involve planning for the construction of a new road interchange at Calder Park Drive over the Calder Freeway in Calder Park, including relocating existing entrance points and improvements to local road network to improve traffic flow and safety in the area. While this development work is limited to understanding environment and social impact, developing design option and confirming scope and costs of different options, this is another huge step in the campaign and predicts yet another massive road investment valued in the many hundreds of millions of dollars. Combined with the state budget announcement to match federal funding to create a pool of 100 million, it's clear that the Sunshine Precinct is set to shine with precinct master planning, the north of the municipality, communities living with Mayor and Teller's ward, a neighbourhood in Horseshoe Bend ward, are set to benefit from many years for major road infrastructure, construction upgrading the Calder. I commend councillors on their unwavering commitment to the campaign, and I would also like to again highlight the contribution of the Calder Action Group and local Sydenham MP Minister Natalie Hutchins. Their effort over many, many years have prepared the way the council to successfully deliver this campaign. Of course, I would also like to thank the continued investment from the Andrews State Government and particularly responsible Minister, the Honourable Jacinta Allen, Minister to Transport Infrastructure, the Honourable Melissa Horn, Minister for Ports and Freight, and the Honourable Ben Carroll, Minister for Road and Road Safety, also, of course, our local member for Nidru. Thank you. There's still much work to do, but what we have collectively achieved for this critical stretch of highway so far is absolutely incredible. But on a much more sobering news, Premier Daniel Andrew yesterday announced another escalation of lockdown requirement for at least a further 2 weeks. Devastating news for many. The emergency of the Delta variant of COVID-19 over the course of this year has shaken our community. Again, the west of Melbourne has been hit hard, so our council must again refocus on redouble our effort in advocacy for the endurance and recovery of our community through our 19-point advocacy action plan. As Council, we updated this plan in April 2021, calling for the establishment of Joint Government Council COVID-19 Brimbank Recovery Task Force, a Brimbank Health and Wellbeing package, and a Brimbank Economic Recovery package. We cannot fight this virus on our own. Despite our past effort in limited rate increase, providing rate relief, providing COVID recovery community and business grant, and much more besides. The state government has been generous in supporting our community in the past, contributing more than 100 million of assistance we have advocated for. But once again, we confront an enormous task. We are all in it together, and we call on our community to get vaccinated, stay home, and stay safe. As we also again call on state and federal governments to commit to the range of initiatives with the 19-point advocacy action plan. We have made it to 0 cases before, and we can do it again. And finally, a campaign which has been part of our strategic planning and continued. Sustained effort in advocacy since 2018, transforming Brimbank 2050. This month, it's business as usual. We continue to pursue the course of pushing for maximum community outcomes, leveraging the Melbourne Airport Rail project and the designation of the Sunshine Priority Precinct for the greater good. We have presented the community case, the economic case, and the political case, underpinned by robust city planning and engineering design as part of our direct advocacy effort to all levels of government over many, many months. Well, we absolutely support major transport infrastructure in the West, such as the Melbourne Airport Rail project, the Western Tunnel project, and the emerging work to the Calder Freeway. We still must continue working on local outcomes to raise up our community. And I'm pleased to say, as delighted within the report, that things have progressed positively in conjunction with the state government. As we have previously called for, we have been invited to participate as a member of Community Reference Group established by Department of Transport. This group will make significant contribution to the master planning of the Sunshine Super Hub, which in itself was another demand of Council, a call for improved planning and coordination, as supported by community partners such as the Greater Sunshine Community Alliance. We are in the 3rd year of our advocacy as we head toward opening of the Melbourne Airport Rail in 2030, a journey to partner with the government and community to extract as much value as we can in parallel with this massive project. It can't be all achieved at once, but working together steadily, it can be done. A detail within Sunshine Priority Precinct Vision 2050, Albion Station and the Albion Quarter is a massive part of our ambition and journey, and we will remain a key focus for Council as we continue to advocate in the most effective and efficient way possible. I'm advised that recent discussion between Councillor officers and the Department of Transport have been very productive, seeking that the rail infrastructure will catalyse significant precinct development and investment. Thank you, councillors. I hope there will be another advocacy campaign update next month, as it always spells good news for the community. Thank you. I would now like to call Mr. Dan Hogan on advocacy campaign update.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll try that again. Thank you, Madam Mayor. As printed within the agenda papers, the purpose of this report is to provide Council with an update of current and recent advocacy campaigns of particular note. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have a questions for Mr. Hogan? Do I have a mover of this motion? Yes, Councillor Blue.
I'd like to move a motion, Madam Mayor, under the 12.7 advocacy campaign updates. As per, if I get the screen shared up, I'd like to move this motion. Madam Mayor, under the 12.7 advocacy campaign update, I'd like to move the motion. A, notes that this advocacy campaign update report in relation to the Fix the Calder Transforming Brimbank 2050 and Brimbank's 19-point action plan for COVID recovery campaign. B, note the council current advocacy position relating to transforming Brimbank 2050, seeking that the state government reconsider its plan for the flyover and adopt a stage approach to delivering airport rail by initially utilising existing A-grade tracks. In doing so, allowing time to properly plan for the redevelopment of Sunshine Station into a regional super hub, the reconstruction of Albion Station into a fit-for-purpose public transport interchange that complements and celebrates the heritage value of the Darwin Flour Mills, the integration of both stations into the surrounding precinct in a way that unlocks development opportunities, most notably within the Albion Quarter, and delivering a long-term rail commitments made in the Western Rail Plan, such that the electrification of Melton and Wyndham. C, maintain the commitments to work in partnership with community groups, such as the Greater Sunshine Community Alliance and the Albion and Adair Community Clubs, to support Council's Sunshine Priority Precinct Vision 2050 for the best possible development opportunities at the Sunshine Transport Super Hub Precinct and Albion Quarters. D, to endorse continued advocacy's efforts and campaigning in relation to the Fixed Calder Transforming Brimbank 2050 and Brimbank 19-point action plan for COVID recovery campaign. E, notes that the global, federal and state response to the COVID-19 pandemics may change the conditions encounter and information reviewing to the update of the preparation of this report. And finally, F, authorise officers to direct resource in order to give effects to the recommendation in this report in any such redirections or responsibly required as a result of a change caused by COVID-19 pandemics, in accordance with any delegation made by Council in effects at the time. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor David?
Seconded, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Liu, would you like to speak to this motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, I'd like to commend Councillor Wessex and the advocacy team for the efforts of advocacy work to date, and my fellow councillor with their efforts in supporting it. In relation to the Transforming Brimbank's Vision 2050, I'd like to emphasise that what we're advocating is not just for the resident of Brimbank, but it is an infrastructure that we will deliver a world-class public transport service for Victoria and Australia. This is an investment for our current and future generations to come. The purpose of Sunshine Station Master Plan integrate growth and development by improving connectivities and transport network. It support high-quality infrastructure at the same time promoting sustainability and environmental developments. It will be a great tragedy that such a significant project such as the Melbourne Airport Rail Link and the Sunshine Super Hub that will generate both economics and social opportunities for a thriving community be supported by second-rated proposals and options. I, along with many Brimbank's residents, consider an 18-metre high flyover proposal is a second-rate option. Nevertheless, I do have confidence in the state government to deliver a world-class infrastructure where they see the need to have one. So I submit this motion to continue advocating and seeking for the support to deliver a world-class project for the West. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Liu. Councillor David, would you like to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I think Councillor Luke put it together nicely indeed. And I did say that at Council before that this was my worst disappointment ever as a councillor. In reference to 2018, when the first news came along and they told us that the railing is coming, one stop in Sunshine, I thought my dreams are coming through. But somehow it was changes, surprise changes. I don't know. until now. I don't know why. I don't think it's economic somehow, but I believe it's something that every expectations by the community all round, they are gearing up to see something happening in Sunshine in reference to railing. People started to, not so long ago, we had a property which was permitted for 7 levels of units and apartments. The Travelodge came along and purchased it for hotel and things like that. All these people, they're prepared to gear up and build and develop in Sunshine to make it happening. Without doubt, we would have the heart of the West here in Sunshine and Brimbank, indeed. So all along, I think Councillor Luke explained the whole thing, and the other disappointment it is, and I support them all, and we all as councillors, is our community. I get calls every day and emails every day, and I promise those people, I said, we councillors are part of the community, we are the community, we're supporting you all the way. That was my words to them, and I'll leave it to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor David. Councillor Tarkos? Like to speak to it? Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to speak to it too. I'd like to thank Councillor Trung for his amendment and addition, and also congratulate you on your fantastic advocacy so far on Fix the Calder, and also the 19-point COVID plan that we continue to make a lot of gains. But this goes to the heart of why I ran it as a councillor, and that is because I believe in the best quality outcomes for my community. When we discuss industrial strategies, when we discuss parks that we create in Brimbank, we don't go for C-class options. We don't go for C-class materials. We go for top of the range because our community deserves nothing less. This flyover, it is not one that's going to unlock our community's greatest features and heritage, and not create jobs and not invest in our community. What it does is it ignores everything beneath it. An at-grade solution is the only solution that will beautify the amenity, will attract investment, and that will bring people to Sunshine and develop it into the heart of the West, which is exactly what we've been doing as part of the Transform Brimbank strategy, which we've invested hours, consultations, and thousands of communiques with our community. This is our community speaking here. It's not councillors, it's our community that is saying to us, this is what we want. We want quality because this is a generational project that will last not 10 years, but 100 years for future generations. So what kind of legacy do we want to leave? A flyover or investment and development of Sunshine Super Hub and the Albion Quarter into a tourist attraction, into something that we can be proud of as a community?
1 minute left.
We've done nothing less in our community. Since we've had councillors elected, we've pushed to get the best for our community, and we continue it. I'm standing here and I'm putting myself as a councillor that this is the most important project that is gotten right. We can't get it wrong because all of the components are together and they bring what's called integration for this project to work. You can't do it as a piecemeal project where you stick a flyover here and then you ignore the precinct underneath. It needs to be integrated and it needs to be done properly. I'm passionate about this and I believe all councillors are, and we're here for the community and we're going to keep fighting for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Well said. Councillor Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to speak to the motion. First of all, thank you to Madam Mayor and the council staff for their extensive advocacy efforts, especially in securing $100 million and the removal of the Calder Park Drive level crossing. And also, it seems we're in a 6th lockdown now, so we'll need to continue advocating for the COVID recovery and fight sport. But as a Harvester Ward councillor, a top advocacy issue is definitely in relation to the Melbourne Airport Railway link and the proposed works at Albion and Sunshine Station. Like, we've all said it here before, we all agree. What we want is what the community wants, which is the best outcomes, an at-grade solution for Albion and Sunshine train stations. And obviously, despite community and council's efforts continually advocate for this, we didn't get everything that we wanted. Right, there's still, the state government is still talking about a flyover, which is absolutely disappointing. It's short-sighted. It's just, you're out of Brimbane my entire life, and it's finally an opportunity for intergenerational change for young people, but also future generations. And I think we definitely, there's definitely still opportunity to change the direction here. Like in response to our advocacy, they've announced the draft Sunshine Station Master Plan for future investment opportunities in the Sunshine Station and the surrounding area. But there's also the Sunshine Transport Precinct Community Reference Group, which is having opportunity for influence. So I still do believe if we continue our advocacy efforts, we can still affect change. There is still opportunity here to get an upgrade solution, but we have to work together with councillors, fellow councillors, the staff, but also the community as well. And also, like, I've seen the passion for the community on this issue. Like, I would like to thank, the community, and also the GSCA and the
1 minute left.
AWC, sorry, the Albion and Idea community for rallying people together on this issue. And council did have a plan for a public campaign, and that's still happening. And obviously we're affected by COVID lockdowns, but nevertheless, I think we should continue advocating, but we have to be strategic and innovative in the way that we go about it. So yeah, I just really commend Councillor Liu's motion to really emphasise that we still need to keep going. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Would anyone, Councillor Kerr?
Yeah, look, I think it's really important that we need to hold the state government responsible for the lack of funding in the West. And it's really important that as a community that we advocate together as in unity to call for this funding. I'm so sick of the state government watering down all these major projects in the West, and it's time that they stop and they listen to Brimbank. It's important that we get this service in our area. We've got major business, major infrastructure that's all relying on this super hub that's been completely watered down. So I'm calling on the state government to stop neglecting the West, to take us seriously and to hold us in account and make sure that they provide us with the services that we deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to speak to this motion? I'll put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. We go to 12.8, Brimbank Arts and Advisory Committee, Terms of Reference 2021 with Ms. Lindley Dunlop. Thank you, Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report presents the draft Terms of Reference 2021 for the Brimbank Arts Advisory Committee and calls for the recruitment through an expression of interest process of arts sector representatives and community members to the BARC for a 2-year term. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for Ms. Dunlop? Do I have a mover of this motion? Councillor Dang.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish to move motion as per business item. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dang. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Papalia.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I move second the motion.
Councillor Dang, would you like to speak to this motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. As the chair of Brimbane Art Advisory Committee and portfolio councillor for the Vibrant portfolio, I would like to speak for this report. The purpose of the Brimbane Arts Advisory Committee is to bring arts sector advice to creative, decision made by Council, thereby assisting Council in its development and government and creative projects in accordance with the Cultural Strategy 2018 to 2022. The current committee has provided advice and expertise in public arts and mural arts commissions and has had input to the delivery of cultural strategy actions and acquisition for the indoor collections. In April 2021, committee members were invited to provide feedback on the cultural strategy 2018 and 2022 as part of the document's evaluation process and to inform key issues for the consideration in the development of the next edition. While in-person meeting has been suspended during the COVID-19 pandemic, the committee's activity have continued by electronic means. I would like to thank the members of the Art Advisory Committee for the time and energy they have put in over the last 2 years. I commend this report to Council. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dan. Councillor Papalia, would you like to speak to this motion?
Just to second the comments made by Councillor Dang, and arts is a huge part of our community, and I'm impressed with the work that's been done and commend this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to this motion? I put this motion then to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. Going to go to 12.9, Draft Amended Community Service and Infrastructure Planning Major Policy with Ms. Lindley Dumble. Thank you, Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report seeks endorsement of the Draft Amended Community Services and Infrastructure Planning Major Policy for community consultation. Council has 4 key strategic documents in relation to the planning and delivery of community infrastructure. It is proposed the major policy be amended to cover all 3 plans and include a framework which provides a high-level consolidated methodology and criteria for future priority setting and decision-making in relation to all community infrastructure. It is proposed the draft policy be released for a 4-week consultation period and Council nominate and appoint 4 councillors to a hearing of submissions committee to be held at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, the 5th of October 2021 to hear any submitters requesting to be heard as part of the consultation. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for Ms. Lindley Dumble? Do I have a mover of this report? Councillor Tarkos.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move the inclusion that the following councillors be appointed into those positions, and that is Councillor Nguyen as Chair, Councillor Borg, Councillor Lancashire, and myself as members on this Infrastructure Planning Major Policy Committee hearing.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Borg.
I second the motion, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tarkos, would you like to speak to this motion?
Only briefly, Madam Mayor, to say that I look forward to the best part of this is listening to the submissions of the community. We're here to listen to what their feedback and what their suggestions are. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Borg, would you like to speak to this
Yes,
motion?
thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Great to see this draft coming to Council. It has a history that goes back to 2018, when on the 20th of November, Council adopted the Community Services and Infrastructure Planning Major Policy. The policy provided the strategic direction for the development of the Community Services and Infrastructure Plan 2018. At its ordinary council meeting held on the 21st July 2020, council resolved to develop a framework for inclusion in the community services and infrastructure planning major policy, which provides a consolidated methodology and criteria for future priority setting and decision-making in relation to community infrastructure. The amended major policy covers 3 plans and a framework which provides a high-level consolidated methodology and criteria for future priority setting and decision-making. Its aim is to outline Council's guiding principles and commitments that inform the planning and delivery of community services and infrastructure that respond to identified and emerging needs, both now and in the future. I'm very much looking forward to the community's feedback during the consultative period. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? If not, I'm going to put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. I'm going to go to 12.10, Brimbank Council Plan Progress Report, Year 4, Quarter 4. Ms. Lenley Dumble, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to note the actions of the Council Plan 2017 to 2021 for the fourth and final quarter 2020-21. Analysis of the actions indicated that at the end of the financial year and term end of this council plan, there were 2 actions still in progress with the remaining 112 completed. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for Ms. Lenley Dumble? Do I have a mover of this motion then? Councillor Borg?
I'll move the motion as per business papers.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Do I have a second of this motion? Councillor Nguyen?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I second the motion.
Councillor Borg, would you like to speak to this motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say that as I have been involved in the development in the Brimbank Council Plan 2017 and 2021 during my previous term as a councillor, it's certainly great to see this last progress report regarding its implementation coming to council. To see that out of 114 actions, 112 have been completed and 2 actions in progress is quite a satisfactory achievement, especially when we take COVID-19 pandemic and its implications into account. Well done, everyone. I commend this report to council.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Councillor Nguyen, would you like to speak to this report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll keep it brief. I'll also echo Councillor Borg's sentiments that I think it's quite amazing that 98% of the actions are completed, and there's 2 actions still to go, and they're scheduled to be completed next year. So it's really good despite COVID-19. Yeah, great job, everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion, to this report? And I put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. Going to go to 12.11, submission to the Mental Health and Wellbeing Commission. Ms. Lenley Dumble, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Officers have prepared and submitted a submission to the Victorian Government's consultation on the new Mental Health and Wellbeing Act, which is at attachment 1 to this report. This submission is presented to Council tonight for noting. Mental wellbeing is a significant issue in Brimbank, with residents reporting lower levels of subjective wellbeing than Victoria. COVID-19 has had and continues to have a significant negative impact on residents' mental wellbeing, particularly impacting young people, newly arrived migrants, unemployed people and women. Due to the short time frame in which to make submissions, consultation was not able to be conducted. However, information from recent data and research by Council, including the impact of the COVID pandemic on the mental health and wellbeing of residents, was considered in the submission. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for Ms. Lindley Dumble? Then do I have a move of this motion? Councillor Kerr?
I move the motion as per the business papers. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a second of this motion? Councillor Takos?
Second this motion. Thank you, Madam.
Councillor Kerr, would you like to speak to this motion?
Yeah, I would. Look, there's no doubt, apart from a global COVID pandemic that we're facing at the moment, we're also encountering a mental health emergency and crisis in Brimbank. Our residents are dealing with anxiety, depression, affecting so many young people, business owners, mum and dads, and so many children that can't go to school. It's great to see Brimbank's detailed submission to the Mental Health and Wellbeing Act, and I hope that together we can move forward and help the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Takos, would you like to speak to this motion?
Only to echo what Councillor Kerr said, but to also say that although we aren't directly providing mental health services and it's not under our, direct responsibility, we do have the ability to respond to this mental health crisis in the various services that we do deliver. So some of the key priorities our community is calling out for is more access to green spaces and activation in those green spaces. So we have got the ability as a council to tweak and increase our what our community needs right now, and that is a lot more outdoor activities, COVID-safe activities that they can do. And there is no, our response to this commission is important, but our jobs on this council is just as important going forward in responding to this pandemic, because it's not over for a long time. And yet, as Councillor Kerr said, there is a crisis already, and there are kids that cannot get quick access to mental health support at the moment, and they have been working out of their bedrooms, finishing high school by themselves in isolation. This is not a normal experience, and they're going into a world that's completely different. We need to use our ability as a council and what departments we can utilise to support, even if we send packs to parents that are struggling and kids that are struggling, care packs, to say that we understand that this is a difficult time for you. We need to reach out to our community in different ways in this extraordinary time. And I really appreciate all of the work that went into the response. And I think this is a key and important issue for our council.
1 minute left. Oh, done. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? Councillor Borg and then Councillor Branton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mental well-being has been a significant issue in Victoria that has been overlooked for many decades. Indeed, the Royal Commission in Victoria's mental health system released its final report in March 2021 with 65 recommendations set over a 10-year reform vision, in addition to the 9 recommendations from the Royal Commission interim report. One of the recommendations was that the current Mental Health Act 2014 be replaced with the new Mental Health and Wellbeing Act. Council welcomes the opportunity to provide feedback on aspects of the draft act. As already mentioned, COVID-19 has had and continue to have a significant negative impact on residents' mental well-being, particularly impacting young people and newly arrived migrants, unemployed people, and women. As a consumer of mental health services, I cannot emphasize highly enough how important it is to have an effective system in place to meet the needs of people like myself suffering from mental health related problems. Primary preventative measures and early interventions are just as important in trying to deal with this silent epidemic that is afflicting our community. I commend the work that has been done by the council officers in the submission to the Mental Health and Wellbeing Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bork. Councillor Branton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to reflect what Virginia, Councillor Takos said before, that although it's not council's responsibility to be to work in the mental health space, we're already doing a lot of work. And recently, taking a tour of the neighbourhood houses, I got really excited at the amount of work that's already been happening, and that we already had a good amount of data that could be used in that report to hand on to the mental health review. And that personally, my depression has definitely been the worst it has been for a long time, and the pandemic has been a big part of that, because I'm reduced to regularly walking around the same 2 parks every day. And we need to activate those green spaces more and create more spaces outside to use those, because they're so important. And when there's 9-month waiting lists for young people to access youth services and counselling services at Headspace, it's too long. 9 months is eternity when you're 15. And there are things that we're working in that in my portfolio that we're trying to really get ourselves into a place where we can, once the pandemic is done, there are activities and ways to get people involved and get supports to people. So it's something that we're doing a lot of work in, and I'm having a lot of conversations with people, and I'm really glad and really heartened that all the councillors are having these conversations. So I'm really glad to see that, and really commend the work that the officers put into this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Branton. Would anyone else like to speak to this report or to this motion? Well, then I'll put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. I'm going to go to 12.12, final draft Brimbank tree policy and final draft significant tree policy with Mr. Neil Whiteside. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the council meeting on the 20th of April this year, council considered the draft Brimbank tree policy and the draft significant tree policy, and resolved to endorse the draft policies for community consultation for 4 weeks. The draft policies were available for community consultation for 4 weeks from the 27th of April to the 25th of May on Council's Your Say webpage. Council received 30 submissions on the draft Brimbank tree policy and received 19 submissions on the draft significant tree policy. A summary of all the submissions and council officer responses are included in attachment 3 and attachment 4 to the report. Based on the submissions, council officers recommend minor changes to the draft Brimbank tree policy and no changes to the draft significant tree policy. The purpose of this report is for council to consider adopting the final draft Brimbank tree policy at attachment 1 and adopting the final draft significant tree policy at attachment 2. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for Mr. Neil Whiteside? If not, do I have a mover of this motion? Councillor Papalia.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I move the motion as per the business papers.
Thank you. Do I have a second of this motion? Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to second the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Papali, would you like to speak to this motion?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Madam Mayor. So as Neil pointed out, there's some, maybe you guys want to go on. I'm setting echo on mute. I don't know why. There we go. That's better. Thank you. Yeah, so in April this year, we endorsed the draft Brimbank tree policy and draft significant tree policy, which, as Neil mentioned, were then available for a 4-week community feedback period. So we've now received the feedback, and I would like to thank all of those in our community who participated and provided feedback on both policies. We received 30 submissions in the draft tree policy, of which 24 majority were in support. And just to highlight that 24 out of 30 people or submissions selected that greening our city as the most important objective. 23 submissions indicated that trees are extremely important for the future of Brimbank. For context, the draft tree policy was designed to support the council in reaching a 30% tree canopy in line with the urban forest strategy. And some of the objectives include community engagement, greening our city, improving urban tree management, and demonstrating best practice in maintenance. With regards to the significant tree policy, there were 19 submissions. And I think what's important to note on this one is that trees on private land are super important, given that private land makes up 70% of all of our land in our municipality. So our current policy for the management of significant trees historically only permitted council to regulate trees on council-owned land, and the significant tree policy provides an updated policy framework for the establishment of a significant tree protection register for trees on private land. And as I mentioned before, this is crucial in us being able to achieve our 30% tree canopy goal. So I commend this report to council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Papalia. Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would certainly like to support the comments made by Councillor Papalia. These policies are very important to council, and I'd probably even like to be a bit cheeky and go so far as to say that once we move out of our COVID problems, I would like to predict that the environment is going to be the next big issue. And the tree policies, the tree coverage and the parks and things like that we see in our municipality will become, are certainly very important and will become right to the fore. The work on this started with the previous council, and I'd certainly like to commend the staff for continuing that work on these policies and bringing this important set of documents back to council. And as Councillor Papalia has said, it's been through quite a good public consultation period, and we have some excellent documents here. And I know I don't have a lot of time to talk, but if I can certainly say, when I was growing up in this area and I looked around, I certainly noticed, and probably I wasn't back then as enthusiastic about trees as I am now, but I certainly recall there wasn't many. And if you look around the municipality now, it looks pretty good, but clearly we have a lot more work to do. And as Councillor Papalia has pointed out, there's 70% of the private land. It's obviously that some of this work has to shift from just the public realm of what we do as a council into the private realm. So thank you, Councillor Papalia. I also would like to recommend this great document to council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Would anyone else like to speak to this report? No, then we'll put it to vote. Put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. I'm going to go to 12.13, Waste Recycling and Leader Strategy 2018 to 2028. Draft Community Report Card 2020 to 2021 with Mr. Neil Whiteside. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the council meeting on the 15th of May 2018, council adopted the Waste, Recycling and Litter Strategy 2018 to 2028 and noted a 5-year implementation plan. The strategy outlines actions over the 10 years that will move council closer to the aspirational goal of achieving zero waste to landfill. The actions include expanded recycling services, initiatives to reduce dumping of rubbish, and a focus on helping the community to avoid waste. The strategy reinforced council's commitment to helping its community to live and work in an environmentally sustainable manner. The purpose of this report is for council to receive an update on the implementation of the strategy and consider endorsing the Waste, Recycling and Litter Strategy 2018-2028 draft community report card for 2020 to 2021 at attachment 1. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for Mr. Neil Whiteside? Do I have a mover of this report? Councillor Papalia?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the motion as per the business papers.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lancashire?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I second the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Papalia, would you like to speak to this motion?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Madam Mayor. As the Portfolio Councillor for Sustainable Brimbank, I just wanted to highlight a couple of the key highlights from this report card. So this is, I think, report on year 3 of the implementation plan, and it highlights some of the achievements from 2021 financial year. So the strategy was designed to reduce waste and increase recycling through innovative waste and litter reduction practices as they become available. And I guess who would have thought that waste would be such a prominent topic and something that we're also excited about in council. I'm proud to be part of the group, this group that with such a strong focus on this really important issue. So some of the highlights for 2021, I won't go through all of them, but I'll go through a couple. So the 2021 LG Pro Award for Excellence in the Innovation Management Initiative, Optimising Waste Collection. That was an award that Brimbank won, which is super exciting. So another thing that we did this year was awarded landfill service contracts on a year-to-year basis, and that's just so that we can keep options open to more innovative solutions and as soon as they arrive. We did the delivered pop-up drive-through recycling day, yearly calendar of virtual environmental events. There was the Keep Compost Revolution, and we delivered composting products, compost bins and worm farms to local schools for half price, implemented a curbside bin inspection and education program to target tailored community education around recycling and green waste contamination, increased enforcement activity in focusing on illegal dumping hotspots, which we know is a big topic in Brimbank, as well as the continued installation of fixed and mobile surveillance cameras and signage at known dump rubbish hotspots. So I commend this report card and report to council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Papalia. Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak to this motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I would certainly like to support the comments made by Councillor Papalia and commend her work on the sustainability portfolio. I would like to probably specifically mention one aspect of that in terms of what Council's recently been involved in relation to metro waste. As councillors would be aware, we approved a notice of motion to go to metro waste, and it came about because we had been looking at a total waste processing plant as part of the circular economy for the southeast of Melbourne and for the northwest of Melbourne. The procurement process for such a total waste processing plant, which would be aimed at keeping waste out of our tips and reducing waste going to tips. That procurement process is proceeding in the southeast quite satisfactorily. However, Metro Waste had decided not to continue with that or not proceed with that process for the northwest. This was extremely disappointing and has some absolutely dreadful ramifications for the western suburbs. So council had agreed to put a notice of motion up to Metro Waste, and I am pleased to report that notice of motion has been adopted to encourage Metro Waste to look at a processing plant for the Northwest. But if I can just say some of the ramifications of if we don't go down that path, and that would be the potential that we might have to, if we're going to reduce our waste going to tip, we might have to incinerate it with thousands of tonnes of carbon dioxide going into the atmosphere. And I see as we approach 2050, a looming carbon tax on this such pollution. This would not—
1 minute left.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This would mean we're not only paying in the West a tax on what goes to our tips as an environmental charge, but I could see looming up a hefty tax on carbon dioxide emanating from such an incineration process. So if we believe in a circular economy, as this council does because it's so progressive, then I certainly think we're on the right track. So I recommend this report to council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? Councillor Takos.
To mention that, we need a continued awareness in the council on enforcement around littering hotspots, as Councillor Lancashire and Councillor Papalia have done some tremendous work in this area, but it's been an increasing area from our community that's been mentioned is because they're on their walks more often during the pandemic, they're noticing more rubbish dumped, and it's raised a greater awareness of these hotspots. On my last walk, I spotted 8 tyres and a bathtub and, pram, everything you can imagine, bar the kitchen sink, dumped in Taylor's Creek. So what we need to do is figure out a way of prevention of this. And if it is an economic reason why people are going to places like Green Gully and other hotspots and dumping, we need to figure out a way that it's prevented and how we can collect it and get it to the appropriate waste or recycling area, because it is ending up in our rivers and also choking our waterways, and it's reducing the amenity. But I'd just like to congratulate the work done and the motion that was raised, because the procurement issue is massive for for the Western suburbs, because we are surrounded by landfills, and those landfills will one day become a legacy contamination site for future generations. So the more we can divert away from landfills and educate our community on ways that can do it, the better. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Takos. Anyone else who would like to speak to this motion? I put this motion to vote then. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. I'm going to go to 12.14, creating better parks policy and plan draft community report card for 2020-2021 with Mr. Neil Whiteside. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Creating Better Parks policy and plan was first adopted by Council in 2008 and later updated in 2016 as a blueprint to transform the park network in Brimbank. The aim was to create one of the best park networks in Melbourne through developing a hierarchical park network. By the end of 2020-21, 116 parks have been upgraded and approximately 38 million invested since 2008. The purpose of this report is to provide Council a summary of the implementation of the Creating Better Parks policy plan in the last financial year, and for Council to consider endorsing the draft community report card for 2020 to 2021 and the annual assessment and subsequent change to the park network in the Creating Better Parks policy and plan 2016. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Whiteside. Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Neil Whiteside? Councillor Olu?
For that, Director, said 28 million or 38 million invested?
Thank you, Councillor Liu, and through you, Madam Mayor. So since 2008, it's around 38 million.
Thank you.
Invested by council. Thank you.
Anyone else? Do I have a mover of this motion? Councillor Liu?
I move as for business paper.
Thank you. Do I have a second of this motion? Councillor Dan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish to second the motion.
Councillor Liu, would you like to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Madam. Yes, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much. First of all, I commend the work that has been done to date with all the upgrading, 116 parks and 38 million invested since 2008. That's a tremendous effort. The Great Better Park policy and plan is another fundamental policies that promotes and make our city more livable. As our communities evolve, develop and expand, our need, expectation and the requirement also evolve. From the community consultations, it is clear that community expectation and needs differ from 2008 to now, with the population growth and the changes in the demographics. Now residents are seeking more toilets, skate parks, more shaded areas, exercise equipment, more trees, circular path and waterways. I fully support the Great Better Park policy and plan and commend the council's work to date. But I'd like to emphasise that moving forwards, the policy need to be revisited and reviewing to incorporate the community's up-to-date requests and needs, and when upgrading future parks and greening the areas. Secondly, I'd like to mention that the greater attention needs to be focused on our older and more developed suburbs in our cities, where the population are more dense and more far, with far and few parks and green space in between. It is no longer rational or reasonable to go about setting targets on a ward-to-ward basis like we have in the past. We are the government to provide service to all Brimbank residents. Service needs to be based on a person and service accessibility ratio. Understandably, these older suburbs, land and space are limited. Implementing new parks and green space and it's not easy, but it is where a great policy is different from a good policy. I have great confidence in this council to achieve this, because I know this group of councillors and officers strive and expect nothing but the best for our communities. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Liu. Second of the motion, would you like to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since 2008, the 116 parks have been upgraded, and we have like the Creating Better Park Network have won 9 industry awards. So I would like to congratulate all the involved of the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else, councillors, like to speak? Councillor Kerr?
Better get myself off mute there. Look, I'd just like to say that, obviously there's been some amazing work done in council with upgrading parks. As a councillor for Taylor's Ward, I think it's a drop in the ocean for what we actually need. Having grown up in Keilor Downs since 1986, I can name Odessa Avenue Reserve, Belmont Avenue, Willies Avenue, Copernicus Way, all 4 large, beautiful open spaces in Keilor Downs that are in desperate need of upgrades. We've got the park at Odessa Avenue Reserve that is littered with blue and yellow rocks, that stands between Keilor Downs Secondary College and Keilor Views Primary School. And that park is inhabitable. You can't use it. You can't use it for any other reason. The kids today, they've got nothing to do. They need basketball, facilities. They need some cricket nets. We need some upgraded facilities for the kids, some bocce courts for the senior citizens, some upgraded equipment. So although we've done some amazing work, I feel that, you know, one thing that COVID has emphasised in our community is how much we need open space in our area, whether it's Taylor's ward or Harvester ward or any ward. But I think that, you know, moving forward, you know, I'd be fully supporting some further investment in our local parks. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillor wish to speak to this report? Councillor Takos.
Thank you. I'd like to also echo the words of my fellow councillor colleagues. There's more work to be done, and I totally support that our council has made green spaces and parks one of our top priorities, along with mental health and youth. I think it all integrates, to be honest, because as Councillor Kerr said, that particular park with the blue stones, there are 3 or 4 schools on that site. So it makes sense to activate that so that kids have got a place to go where they can play basketball, etc. But one of the things that I also want to put on the agenda is a lack of MTB facilities across Brimbank. One thing both myself and Councillor Papali were approached by is the teenage cohort at the moment in our community have got even less activation for themselves. So a lot of teenage kids just want to get on a bike, go somewhere and run off jumps and, you know, enjoy themselves. It's simple, enjoyable. All they need is the open space. And granted that, you know, we are working on this issue, I just wanted to bring up that both Moonee Valley and Hume have found 2 places that they can set up these MTB in a quick manner. We really need to look at something like this for our teenage kids as well, because they're crying out for activities to do, and there is nothing. If they don't want to play organised sport like football or cricket, what is the alternative for them to stay fit and active? We need to have a wide range of activations in these parks, and believe me, there would be some space in Brimbank that we can put these MTB type facilities across Brimbank, and it doesn't have to be just in Horseshoe Bend, but we could look at
1 minute left.
Yeah, so that's all I wanted to say, Madam Mayor, and that we continue our great work with developing fantastic parks in Brimbank. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, councillors? Yes, Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a few words in support of the councillors who have spoken so far, and to say that while we didn't see COVID coming, we nevertheless got to work in upgrading 116 parks. And our residents have greatly benefited from that work in terms of being able to walk through and enjoy some great spaces. However, as has been clearly said, we've got more to do. And I think there's this council, and I would say the officers and the councillors, need to be congratulated on what they've done so far and their vision as to what we'd like to see. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to speak to this motion? If not, I put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. I'm going to go to 12.15, contract number 202886, supply of motor vehicles. Mr. Neil Whiteside, thank you.
Madam Mayor, may I please move the following officer reports on block to keep this meeting going? So I'd like to propose that we move 12.15, 12.16, 12.17 as a block vote, and that councillors are welcome to ask the director's question, of which I have one. Thank you.
Yes. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor David?
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak to this proposal? Councillor Takos?
Yeah, I have a question on 12.15. in regards to cars. If I could direct that to the Director, Mr. Neil Whiteside. I just wanted to know whether we are purchasing electric hybrids or fossil fuel vehicles for the purpose of in keeping with our environmental position and strategy.
Thank you for the question, and through you, Madam Mayor. Certainly, Council is in the process of developing a fleet transition plan, which is looking at not only the light fleet, so vehicles and passenger vehicles and utilities, but also our heavy plant and equipment. So that process is undergoing and still in progress. But we have already purchased some electric vehicles that are being used within the fleet. And we have got options for, passenger vehicles to look at hybrid models as well. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor David, do you have any questions?
No.
Or comments on this?
No.
Anyone else, councillors, would like to talk on this motion or this block of motions? I put this block of motions to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare motion 12.15, 12.16 and 12.17 carried. We're going to go to item 13, which is notice of motion. There are 6 notices of motion for consideration tonight. Councillors, I remind you that a notice of motion must be moved as printed in the papers, and only if seconded can an amendment be moved. Better support for carriers. Notice of motion 23/21, Councillor Victoria Borg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move the motion that Council notes that carers play an important role in the community and carers in Brimbank face significant challenges every day, including balancing the demands of work and caring, and these have been made even harder by COVID-19 pandemic. Right to the Victorian Minister for Disability, Ageing and Carers, the Honourable Luke Donnellan, to seek opportunities for additional funding for carer supports in Brimbank, including those carers from culturally diverse backgrounds facing additional barriers to information. Right to the Commonwealth Minister for the National Disability Insurance Scheme, the Senator, the Honourable Linda Reynolds, to seek opportunities for additional funding for carer supports in Brimbank from the National Disability Insurance Scheme. And finally, right to the Commonwealth Minister for Senior Australians and Aged Care Services, the Senator, the Honourable Richard Colbeck, to seek opportunities for additional funding for carer supports in Brimbank from Commonwealth-funded aged care programs.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kerr.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Borg, would you like to speak to your motion now?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Carers in Brimbank are facing significant challenges every day. In many cases, they need to balance work and care. 1 in 5 carers will eventually give up work to focus on the carer's role. Carers are not a homogeneous group. 1 in 10 carers, for example, are under the age of 18, who regularly provide emotion and or practical support and assistance for a family member who is disabled, physically or mentally unwell, or who misuses substance. Carers are of all ages and cultural background and are trying to manage competing demands in their caring roles and daily lives. COVID-19 pandemic has significantly contributed to extra stressful demands. Many of them have not had a break over this last year and are now feeling terribly exhausted. Council provides a range of support to carers from all life stages through its community care services and programs, including programs for carer well-being and assistance with service navigation. However, feedback from local networks and groups, including the Brimbank Disability Network, would indicate that there are gaps in supports and a number of hidden carers in the community who are unaware of the supports and services that are available to them. The COVID pandemic highlighted the need for an improved funding for a range of support carers from the Commonwealth Government. I call on my fellow councillors to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Councillor Kerr, would you like to speak to this motion?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor. Thank you to Councillor Borg for raising this very important issue. This is very close to my heart. As a mother of an autistic son and a carer myself, I've had first-hand experience in the gaps in our support and services for carers in Brimbank. Something as simple as a trip to the park on a sunny day is not that simple. Is the park gated? Is there parking away from traffic? Is there adequate changing facilities? These are some of the concerns carers face even before they can actually leave their house. We need lots of services. We need more sensory and all ability parks and spaces in Brimbank. We need gated parks, carer hubs, upgraded change room facilities for the disabled, who can be adults, teenagers and seniors, to ensure they have privacy and dignity. Programs that are inclusive to all. You know how heartbreaking it is for me not to be able to take my son to many services because they won't accept him. To remember, carers can be looking after seniors, teenagers, children, and all incurring different challenges. A call on the state and federal government to provide further funding for carers and facilities for the disadvantaged. I really want to thank Councillor Borg for submitting this notice of motion. It's really important and there's a real need for it in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. We need extension of 30 minutes. Do I have a mover? Councillor Takos?
Yeah, I'll move that for an extension for 30 minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Nguyen?
I second that.
All in favour, please raise your hands. Motion carried, so we can go on. Anyone else would like to speak to Councillor Borg's motion? Councillor Takos?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would also like to thank Councillor Borg for this highly important notice of motion. As a carer myself, I fully support this motion. That carers in our community face significant challenges, both in and out of lockdown. Balancing the demands for each family is a battle at times, and it can feel quite isolating. As a person who is a carer, the amount of departments you have to navigate to ask for some basic supports can be so difficult, even for someone who is an English-speaking person like myself. I don't know how people from CALD backgrounds would be able, without support in their language, to navigate throughout platforms like the NDIS or the new aged care departments to ask for some basic supports to get through the days. There is now an opportunity for Brimbank, with the construction of the Health and Wellbeing Hub, to have a touch point for carers, but not just one type of carer, but for many types of carers. I hope that we can push for greater state and Commonwealth support to fund a properly funded carer support service in Brimbank that is permanent and ongoing to support our carers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Takos. Would anyone else? Councillor David?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'd like to say thank you to Councillor Borg and the other councillors that spoke about this issue. Those that have been there, they understand the emotion behind it and everything else. It's, the three of you spoke about carers. I've been a carer for nearly what now? More than 50 years. To my wife, it's a young lady, and I understand you all. And when you're speaking about these things, you get my emotion coming through. And it's the payments that those carers are getting. I think it's about what, $133 a fortnight. That's a joke, fair thing. So, but it's I'm glad that you brought it up, Councillor Borg. And look, you got my support all the way through. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor David. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? I put this motion to vote then. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. I'm going to go to item 13.2, establishing the MAB Planning and Building Committee. Notice of motion 24/21, Councillor Bruce, Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Move that Council write to Councillor David Clark, President of the Municipal Association of Victoria, requesting that the MAB re-establish the Planning and Building Committee to develop and guide MAB policy and advocacy responses in relation to the built environment, and in particular to the ongoing state government reform of the Victorian planning system, including the review of the Planning and Environment Act 1987. And secondly, write to all relevant councils seeking support for the re-establishment of the MAB Planning and Building Committee. I move that recommendation. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Liu.
I'll second that, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak to that motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I would. In Victoria, the planning and building systems must promote safe, health and vibrant communities for all Victorians, and councils to play a vital role in this. Councils develop local planning policy and assess the vast majority of planning permit applications. Councils are both planning authorities and responsible authorities under the Planning and Environment Act and must meet a wide-ranging responsibilities under the Building Act. Included in these obligations, local government also holds key responsibilities in enforcing both the planning and building systems. We know that the state government has a strong commitment to review and improving both the building and planning systems as they operate in Victoria. The Treasurer and the Minister for Planning asks the Red Tape Commissioner to undertake a review of building and planning processes as they operate for the state and local government to identify opportunities to streamline processes and reduce delays. It is important that local government through the MAB maintains a strong and active voice in any implementation and ongoing review of the planning and building systems in Victoria. There are a range of significant issues that require considered sector-wide advocacy and policy response, including state government has set aside funding for the Planning and Environment Act to be reviewed, which is now long overdue. We need to be on the front foot in requesting change to this important piece of legislation. Proposed introduction of a betterment tax on rezoning as a means of increasing state government tax revenue without a guarantee that this money will go to local government or even be spent in the municipality in which it is collected is a significant disincentive to development and job creation. Complex and expensive amendments such as the proposed new airport overlays need to be reconsidered or at least be less bureaucratic. Reducing the time it takes to process planning permits, appeals and planning scheme amendments. Elevating environmental sensitive design targets in planning schemes. I believe it is important and appropriate that the MAB represents local government in these matters. I have previously been a member of this committee and know the value that it brings to the industry and the sector wide. However, with the onset of COVID-19, the MIV Planning Committee seems to have ceased to function and reference to it has disappeared from the MAV list of committees. As mentioned earlier, a number of these important issues arising in planning at the state government level need a local government-wide sector approach to be taken. My notice of motion therefore seeks council support to request that the MAV re-establish this important consultative committee. I have raised this concern with my network of planning professionals and local government councillors about this important committee ceasing. I commend this notice of motion to council and hope that I gain your support in requesting the MAV re-establish this important voice to add value to reforms in the planning and building systems as they operate in Victoria. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor, would you like to speak to this motion?
Very quickly, just anyone done with involved in planning and building that realise there's tremendous red tape and regulations and policies involved. So, as Councillor Lancashire mentioned, we do need a reform, and MAB it's an independent voice. So, I fully support Councillor Lancashire's motion.
Thank you. Any other councillors would like to speak to this motion? To or against? For? No? Well, then we put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. We're going to go to item 13.3, request for increased funding for small businesses. Notice of motion 25/21. Councillor Virginia Takos. Thank you.
I'd like to move the motion as per business papers. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Per shared screen.
Thank you, Councillor Takos. Thank you. Do I have a second of this motion? Councillor Kerr?
Yeah, I'd also like to move the motion as per the papers. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Takos, would you like to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, the last two COVID-19 lockdowns have had devastating impacts on small mum and dad businesses that are struggling to stay open here in Brimbank. In the face of declining income and ongoing rent and bills, there are businesses that are shutting their doors for good. Brimbank businesses are experiencing financial hardship that requires additional financial support. The number of COVID exposure sites in Brimbank and Melbourne's West is contributing to this hardship. The financial impact of COVID on small businesses and the closure of businesses is also contributing to higher unemployment, because a lot of these businesses employ local people who also have mortgages to pay. Ongoing lockdowns and ongoing restrictions have a domino effect, leaving businesses and workers struggling to pay their rent and support their families. And with the absence of JobKeeper and JobSeeker, this has been compounded this time around with this particular lockdown. While we welcome the additional business assistance packages from state and federal government, they are simply not enough. Businesses need all the support they can get during COVID-19, and we're calling for more federal funding to help businesses in Brimbank to stay viable. Madam Mayor, we all know that our businesses are our lifeblood. In times where the global economy is not working, our local economy keeps us going and keeps us strong. So having a strong business, local business economy keeps people in jobs, keeps our amenities viable. It actually is good psychologically. When you go out to get a coffee, it improves your mood because you talk to someone. It has been a lifesaver for so many of the community, just for sort of basic shopping that we have to do for our essential survival. So this essentially is calling out for more support. We in Brimbank need a little bit more support because to access these grants are not easy for a lot of our shopkeepers. It's not a question of, oh, I'll just fill in 50 pages. A lot of these people are struggling with language barriers and possibly feel like it's just too hard and they won't worry. But these packages are so important. We need more of them, but we also need called language support around supporting the small to medium to large businesses with accessing these business packages. And that was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kerr, would you like to speak to Councillor Takos' motion?
Yes, please. We are definitely living in unprecedented times with a record number of businesses failing and heartbreaking financial hardship suffered. Families have lost everything, their homes, their businesses, and in some cases, even their lives. We need all the support we can get in Brimbank. So I thank Councillor Tarkos for moving this really important motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, does anyone else want to speak to this motion? Councillor David.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And we have 3 notices of motion. Good motions tonight, and fully support what Councillor Tarkos just said. Look, I think this lately, the last lockdown, the lockdown we just having is hurting a lot more than before. Some of the shops that I know, a couple that they've been there for 10 plus years, they're shutting down. And it's very easily done. They don't get any money. The landlord is asking them for the rental, of course, and he's got every right to ask as well. But I think, like everybody else, they should be coming to a point where they can understand, balance things up in a way of banks to understand this type of things, and the government should play a role in this to try and ask the banks to perhaps stop the interest, at least for the landlords, until we try and find a new day, a better day, I suppose, and eventually will come, I hope. So it's something that I learned the other day, and I saw the news, the Commonwealth Bank, $7 billion profits, and so is the other banks. I mean, surely they can understand what's happening around the world, Australia-wise well. So they should flex to suit to try and help those landlords, the ones that paying their payments or the loans that they borrow from banks, to try and help them and perhaps freeze the interest. That's one way perhaps we can help those shopkeepers to try and keep open until better. That's my bit of part, but it's a clear, wonderful notice of motion tonight, and I thank you, Councillor Tarkos, for bringing this up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor David. Anyone else would like to speak to this motion? Well, I'll put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. Councillors, I wish to lodge 2 notices of motion at this meeting. I note that under section 2711 of the Brimbane government rules, I must now vacate the chair. So I would like Deputy Mayor now to assume chair for the duration of item 13.4 and 13.5. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So can I please get someone to speak to the notice of motion 30.4, Taylor's Road circulation upgrade? Who's moving the motion?
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I have on the screen the motion that I'm putting through? Thank you. I know we are a bit short of the time, but I'm going to go very fast. So everything is on the screen. So it is about Taylor's Road, and that council writes to ministers for road and road safety, Ben Carroll. Everything else is there. If you councillors can read quickly through it, it is very important. It's pretty much asking state government allocate funding for the duplication and the rest of it. Can we stop sharing the screen? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rossi. So I get someone to move the motion.
I need a seconder.
Yep. All right, Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Acting Chair. Yes, I would certainly like to second the notice of motion. Thank you.
Councillor Lancashire. Councillor Rossi, would you like to speak to your motion? So is my volume okay, everyone? Can you all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. So, yeah. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, thank you, certainly. As I did rush it because we are short of a time, but this is something that shouldn't be rushed, that should be looked at properly. And Taylor's Road between Kings Road and Watervale Boulevard has for a long time been the bottleneck of the local area. Cars are often banked up and are prevented from travelling freely through, in and out of Brimbank due to the nature of this road. Before being elected to council, many local residents raised this serious concern about the safety of this section of Taylor's Road and asked that something to be done. I have listened to their concerns and have advocated for this road to be fixed. I again ask my colleagues to support me in asking the state government to declare this section of road as a state road, upgrade it, install traffic lights where necessary, and construct a proper signal intersection where Tennyson Drive meets Taylor's Road. Taylor's Road is of a local and regional significance. This is why it needs to be funded properly and upgraded as soon as possible, if not now. I think the state government for this significant investment in upgrading our roads and freeways in and around the Brimbank, but I asked them that Taylor's Road be made a priority too. Road safety is important to local residents, and I call on state government to work with Brimbank on developing the best possible outcome for our community. And I ask you councillors to support me in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Risey. Seconder, Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Acting Chair. Yes, look, I congratulate the Mayor on raising this really serious issue. It is a dreadful bottleneck, and it is only going to get a lot worse. We've seen the residential development of Melbourne jump the power lines, and with the approval of a number of precinct structure plans, the pace of residential development out to the west in Melton is just absolutely staggering. And Taylor's Road is a major arterial road running through the west. It has its not only traffic implications, it has economic implications. And to have this bottleneck is completely ridiculous. And the way to deal with it is we can't afford to undertake the work. It needs to be a declared road. As an arterial road, it should be a declared road, a Vic Roads road. And that's the first step. And the second step is to then get them to fund this, this particular road. However, as we would have seen from the emails circulated, our council's been looking at this situation for some time. Certainly a possibility of how the road could be rebuilt has been designed by our engineers. We've seen that. Dual lane either way, including a turning lane in the middle. It is technically feasible to do this, to overcome the problem of the bottleneck. It just requires, as the Mayor's suggesting rightly, it be a declared road and then funded and fixed up. So again, thank you, Madam Mayor, for raising this important issue.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Is there another councillor who would like to speak on the motion? Councillor Kerr, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Chair. Look, I'd like to speak on Taylor's Road. It's definitely a bottleneck. It's a traffic jam. It's a main thoroughfare that has been neglected by the state government and local MPs for years. I commend the Mayor for moving this motion, and I fully support and applaud her efforts. Taylor's Road is a major thoroughfare connecting Brimbank to Melton. It is in desperate need of widening. I call on the state government and local MPs to allocate funding for this long overdue project in the West. This area has been neglected for years, decades, and it's time that we call on the state government to supply funding for our residents. It is so dangerous, it's so congested, and it's a catastrophe waiting to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Is there another councillor who would like to speak on this motion? If not, I put this motion to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. And that vote carries. That motion carries. Thank you, everyone. The next item on the agenda is the notice of motion 13.5, Calder Park Station. Can I please get Councillor to speak to the notice of motion?
Can I have my notice of motion shared on our screen again? Thank you. So it's again writing to ministers and members of parliament to support us and advocate on this, as you can all read it from the screen. You can stop sharing if, thank you.
Councillor Isaac, is there a second for this motion? Yes, Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Acting Chair. Yes, I certainly would like to second this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Isaac, would you like to speak on your motion?
I would like to speak on this. Calder Park Station is very important. It would be very important to us. For many years, the land located at Calder Park has sat empty and overgrown. It has been the cause of major fires that has affected local residents and their homes. I believe that this land could and should be used as a train station, and I'm therefore calling to the state government to construct a railway station at this site. The distance between St Albans and Killall Plain Station is approximately 1.8 kilometres, and the distance between Guinevere Station and St Albans Station is also about 2 kilometres. However, the distance between Water Gardens and next station of Diggers Rest is over 9 kilometres. Therefore, a new station at Calder Park is a logical solution to solve this problem. We need a station at Calder Park to service the local community and address the rapid population growth occurring along Melton Highway and beyond. A Calder Park station will also help address the issues of commuter parking, given the open space and potential availability of that land. I call on state government to invest in the construction of train station at Calder Park to promote the use of public transport, reduce the amount of vehicles on our congested roads, and address community needs for capacity upgrades on the Sunbury Water Gardens lane. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Isaac. Seconded, Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Acting Chair. And I would certainly like to thank the Mayor for raising this notice of motion. It's, I've got to say, an absolute no-brainer to look at a railway station there. A railway station has been designated in that area on Melway's maps going back over 30 years. This is something that's been proposed for an awful long time. And as we've talked about in the previous notice of motions, with the massive amount of growth occurring out to the west of Melbourne, with hundreds of thousands of people now starting to spill into the Melton Valley, we need to have improved access and we need to have improved public transport. Now, quite clearly what's happening is there is a proposal in the long term to duplicate the Melton Highway out to Melton Township. And this is going to have an incredible amount of increasing traffic coming in. Now, there's one option here, and that is to take a short deviation to this Calder station and park there and then take a trip into the city to feed back into Water Gardens through other streets and to have a situation where we have there, the car parks are already full. We need this station. In terms of the traffic going down the Calder Highway, we have clearly now approval for grade separation at the railway line on Calder Park Drive and the interchange. This means that people could easily come off the Calder Highway and within a couple of minutes be at this station. So it could take traffic off the freeway. There's, in terms of traffic, in terms of its economic significance, in terms of encouraging public transport, this is one of those few opportunities where we can actually link freeway systems to train stations and get people off roads and onto public transport. Brilliant idea, an obvious idea. Thank you, Mayor, for raising this, and I would recommend it to councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Is there another councillor who would like to speak on this motion? If not, I put this motion to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. And that motion carries. Thank you, everyone. I will now vacate the chair to Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We're going to go to item 13.6. Family violence, notice of motion 28/21. Councillor Tweed Dan. Thank you, Councillor Dan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish to move the motion at per share screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a second of this motion? Councillor Nguyen? Councillor Dang, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. According to the latest data from 2019 to 2020, the total of 2,946 family violent incidents were recorded across Brimbank, and the most victims are women. Council services had provided a level of support for the vulnerable family and those at risk for the family violence. And we know that Brimbane is continuing to work hard to ensure the community is free from all form of the violence during the COVID-19 lockdown. In the 2020 to 2021, the government budget had a significant investment to support women and children affected by family violence. However, the budget allocates no dedicated funding to child center responses that prioritize children's long-term recovery, safety, and well-being. The lack of the commitment to invest in child center response to family violence, which constitutes a failure to commit to improving long-term social and emotional outcome for the Australian children and the young people. For domestic and family violence, elders and women with disabilities are also at the greater risk of family violence and experience heightened barrier to reporting and seeking help. Therefore, I call for all councillors to support this motion to seek opportunity to target funding to support children, elders, and women with disability in Brimbank, and to seek clarification as to how current and proposed funding provides to child-centered responses to domestic and family violence. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nguyen, would you like to speak to this motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Dang, for raising this motion. And you all will have seen today in our reports that family violence is one of the top 5 issues that clients of Brimbank citizens with, especially in Brimbank. And we know that family violence is one of the sectors under particular pressure, like when there's emergency and disasters, rates of family violence increase. Like even from last year to March 2021, the data shows that there were about 3,000 incidents of family violence in Brimbank, and that's a 4.4% increase in reported incidents compared to prior to the pandemic. And yeah, it really affects not just young people and like the perpetrators usually tend to be men, but there's a lot of women out there who are stuck in their homes, and it's really hard for them to get support. And I really endorse the motion because it's seeking extra funding to help these people, and in particular people from migrant and refugee backgrounds as well. So yeah, I really support the motion, and I urge other councillors to do so as well.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? Councillor Takos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor Dang for raising this very important notice of motion, particularly as lockdown has added another compounded this issue. Often we can see a greater escalation of family violence during lockdowns and much more difficulty in the circumstances to report that violence. There has also been reported this year a greater escalation of child to parent violence during lockdown. This rose by 20% this year. The surge in numbers of domestic violence sadly is backed by an increase in severity of that violence, with new clients reporting for the first time evidenced by these prolonged lockdowns. Services such as Berry Street in Victoria are reporting from women who are feeling trapped at home with abusive partners, with COVID-19 becoming another weapon of coercive control by these abusive partners. 87% of the domestic violence providers reported victims feeling very isolated, and 64% an inability to seek outside help. We need to look at other ways we can reach out to these victims, and some ways like increased tech support and safe internet connections for these people that are at risk, because some of the ways they have been reporting that they need to be reached out to would be a much safer way, which is through a mobile phone, say, for example, that isn't their normal mobile phone, but they have one that they can communicate with outside agencies. It's so important that a boost in funding and additional resources are provided to respond to the rise and increase and reports of family violence. Thank you, Councillor Dang.
Thank you, Councillor Takos. Do I have a mover to extend this meeting just to finish it off? So to extend the next 30 minutes. And this is our last motion for the night. Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Do I have a seconder?
Seconded, Madam.
Thank you, Councillor David. I put the motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you, councillors. So we can move on. Does anyone else want to speak to this motion? Councillor Lancashire.
Got there eventually. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just some very brief comments. I'd like to congratulate Councillor Dang for raising this important issue and also support the comments of the other councillors. My mother used to say, you never know what goes on behind closed doors. And I think that's one of those wise sayings that I was brought up with. And to have this, the level of domestic violence that we have occurring is dreadful. It is increasing. And I'm certainly aware that in our discussions with our local police commanders, it's also something that takes up a great deal of their time and a great deal of their work in having to deal with these complex issues. So I don't want to say too much, except it's important, I think, for not just the female members of council, but the male members of council to speak up about this. So my full congratulations and support, Councillor Dang, in raising this motion and exposing these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillors, Councillor David?
Just very briefly, Madam Mayor, I think it's a real thing, and this the city of ours is been brought before us a couple of times before, previous councils, and I think Councillor Lancashire, Councillor Borg, and that Councillor Tuckers. Remember that Councillor Kim Tron used to bring this up all the time, and it's a genuine thing. A lot of sufferers in our city in family violence, and I think the gambling has something to do with it, especially the last couple of years now with this COVID before us. Isolation makes it happen, and it brings a very troubled type of community, a good community into a troubled community, if you like, sometimes, and it happens. And I think it's brought before us tonight, Councillor Dan, and it's a fantastic thing. Thank you for bringing it up. It's a very genuine thing. We have to do something about it. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor David. Does anyone else wants to speak to this motion? If not, I'll put this motion to vote. Councillors, all in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried. We're going to go to item 14, notice of motion decision. There are no rescission motions. Sorry, councillors. We're going to go to item 15, urgent businesses. I would like our CEO to ask, yes, thank you, Warren Roberts. Is there any urgent businesses for tonight?
No, Madam Mayor, there's no matters of urgent business. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, then we're going to carry to item 16, carry on and do, there is no confidential businesses for tonight. And we can close this meeting. Thank you all for attending and for your interest in tonight's meeting. I declare this meeting closed at 10:31. I instruct host to stop recording of this meeting. Thank you, everyone.